Governor has been calling a politically motivated assassination of Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, along with the attempted assassination of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette. As we mentioned, the manhunt is still going on now, more than 24 hours after this horrible tragedy. But we do have a bit of a positive update to share with you this morning. Family of Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette tell us overnight that Yvette is now awake and alert. We are very happy to report that after we learned yesterday from law enforcement that the Hoffmans were shot multiple times. In fact, a man named Matt Oleg, who is apparently the Hoffmans' nephew, sharing a post on Facebook. He says Yvette saved her daughter's life yesterday by throwing her body over her child and using herself as a human shield. The nephew says Senator Hoffman.
So, by the way, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, hoax. If you didn't know, I just found this out a couple of minutes ago. 4 people were targeted. 4 people were shot. 2 couples, 2, I think, wife and husbands. All this time until today, because I was sleeping, we were streaming. 4 people were shot. I didn't know that.
Hoffman was shot half a dozen times, and Yvette was shot 5 times. The couple was rushed to the hospital and right into surgery. They are both out of that surgery and expected to survive. Now, the parent-teacher organization at Fernbrook Elementary has started a GoFundMe for the Hoffmans. Yvette works as a support professional at the Maple Grove Elementary School. The PTO says she brings, quote, joy, compassion, and unwavering support to our students, staff, and families every single day. The fundraiser is closing in now on about $12,000. Their goal, with money going to support and help the Hoffmans pay for medical expenses, rehabilitation costs, and home security enhancements that they may need. Well, after responding to the Hoffmans' home, Brooklyn Park police officers proactively went to the home of Representative Hortman around 3:30 yesterday morning. That's where they found both Hortman and her husband shot and killed. And when they got to that scene, they encountered a man dressed as law enforcement and a vehicle that...
Dude, and the way this guy was dressed is so effing creepy. I don't know if they just opened the door or he forced his way in. We're doing a little recap. So there's a live manhunt happening now, but I wanted to recap the story for those that aren't sure, don't really know, because we covered this in the middle of the protest yesterday. But he came up dressed like this, and there's a bunch of people saying, "Oh, there's a conspiracy, man. How did he lose 100 pounds of weight, or how does he change from this to that? It's not him, it's his brother." Blah 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 blah. He had a face mask on and he had a vest on. There's people think it's somebody else. This is what he was wearing. He came dressed as a cop with a live human, those face things that they look almost real to life, like a face mask, but like a life-like face mask. But bro, if I see that in my camera, if I see that in my door, somebody like that, I'm creeped the F out. I am so creeped the F out. I don't want to open the door for that. He targeted 4 people, killed 2 others survived.
Looked like a police squad car with flashing lights in the driveway. They exchanged gunfire, and that
even had a fake police car. Looked like a police car.
Suspect ran out the back of the house. The suspect is still on the run as of this morning, and an intense manhunt is underway for the man you see right there, Vance Boelter. The shelter-in-place alert for the area of Brooklyn Park around Representative Hortman's home, well, that was lifted yesterday afternoon as police believe Boelter is now out of that area. Archie Newher is live this morning outside of the Law Enforcement Command Center in Blaine with the latest on the intense search for this suspect. Good morning, New.
Yeah, good morning, Leah. So as we enter day 2 of the search for this suspect, Vance Boelter, we are out here at the Law Enforcement Command Center in Blaine, waiting to see if there is going to be an update this morning. So this was actually where yesterday Governor Tim Walz first made that big update that Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband died in this attack. And so we'll continue to be out here and wait to see if there are any updates. But as far as that manhunt goes, again, day 2 of this, as authorities look for this man right here. This is 57-year-old Vance Boelter. This is the suspect that law enforcement right now and the FBI offering a $50,000 reward for any information that leads.
It's a pretty crazy story that happened in the middle of all this, because if you didn't know, he had no King's Day protest flyers in his car. if that's not weird enough, right? Why would he have those flyers in there? But then the thing is, they're saying this guy leaned right. Supposedly, it's kind of hard. It's hard to say. So with the whole political stuff, they said he is in the early 2000s, he was registered as a Republican, but then later declared no party reference. Why? That's kind of interesting to me. You're Republican, then you put yourself as no party. What's going on there? But by his friends, he was described as a conservative who voted for Trump. He was strongly anti-abortion, preached against abortion and LGBTQ rights in recent sermons. He was linked to evangelical ministries, led Reformation ministries, spoke in the DRC, and claimed security experience in Africa and Gaza. Some described it partly as fantasy. Ran Praetorian Guard security services with his wife. He had a security service company, I guess. He served, this is what I don't understand this. So he was registered Republican, puts no party preference, but he served on Minnesota's Workforce Development Board under Governor Dayton and Waltz from 2016 to 2023. So make that make sense. I don't understand that. Like, did he switch up? Did he have something happen? It's kind of like, how do you know what's in this person's mind? And then the flyers. Was he really in support of that? Or did he put that there as like a psyop to make people think he was supporting that? You know? It's weird. And then, yeah, Sam, I saw you mentioning the wife. We're going to get to that. So the wife, Jenny Boelter, she was stopped in Anamia, Minnesota, June 14. And the thing about her is in her vehicle, she was carrying passports, cash, ammo, and a firearm. What the heck? She's like a down ass B, you know, like she's ride or die. Is she in on it? Like, what's up with that? But she was detained for a couple of hours, questioned, but not arrested. Not arrested. I got to look that it was 50K she took out. Yeah. So was she about to run? I wonder what's her involvement with the husband. Did she know this guy was going to go off the rails? Was she guiding him? She ran the same private security firm with her husband, and authorities also searched their home in Camden, Minnesota. So really, really strange. And it reminds me of that serial killer, the Long Island serial killer. Not that I'm not saying this guy's a serial killer, even though you might be able to, maybe there's different qualifications or whatever. But the serial killer, Long Island serial killer, his wife was ride or die. She's still saying she loves the guy or something like that. And there was some lawyer that claimed that when he was having these freak-offs in the basement and torturing these people and making them do all kinds of stuff, whatever he did, that the wife was there watching or supporting him, allegedly, or something like that. I don't even know what's true or not with that story. But some of these wives, they're down, I guess, for whatever, you know, ride or die.
To the finding him for an arrest and conviction of Boelter. You can see in the third picture there, he is wearing a police uniform outside one of the victims' homes. Now, they say he showed up impersonating a police officer. You'll notice he's wearing a rubber mask as well in that picture. It appears to be a Halloween mask that looks like an old man that covers up his entire head. And here's a look at that vehicle that Boelter drove last night. Law enforcement on scene at Representative Hortman's house, putting yellow police tape up around that vehicle, going through the car for hours. Inside, they say they found a manifesto with several lawmakers' names on it, as well as papers with "No Kings" written on them. State officials later then telling anyone planning to attend those No Kings protests yesterday to avoid them, to not go to them out of their own safety. Now, a shelter in place was also put in effect for a 3-mile radius in Brooklyn Park at 5:30 a.m. yesterday morning. That was lifted later on in the day at 3:20 in the afternoon. So during that time, during that shelter in place, SWAT teams were out in neighborhoods trying to find.
How far is this guy really going to get? Look at the type of search that they have going. They're still searching for him now. Once we catch up and go over all the details, I'll put the live feed. But look at this massive, like,
place was also put in effect for a 3-mile radius in Brooklyn Park at 5:30 a.m. yesterday morning. That was lifted later on in the day at 3:20 in the afternoon. So during that time, during that shelter in place, SWAT teams were out in neighborhoods trying to find Boelter. So this morning at this hour, here's what we know so far about this suspect. Vance Boelter has an extensive police security background. He is the director of security patrols at Patreon Guard Security Services, a security company based here in the Twin Cities Metro. He was appointed to the governor's Workforce Development Council by Governor Dayton in 2016 and then again in 2019 by Governor Tim Walz. Now, the governor's office appoints thousands of people from all parties to these boards and commissions. The Workforce Development Council has about 60 people on it. Governor Tim Walz spoke Saturday morning calling what happened a, quote, politically motivated assassination.
We must all, Minnesota and across the country, stand against all forms of political violence. I assure you that those responsible for this will be held accountable, and each and every one of us are committed to making sure that a tragedy like this never repeats itself in Minnesota or across this country.
Yeah, Governor Walz goes on to mention losing Melissa Hortman is a big loss for Minnesotans. He considers her a friend and a giant in the political world here in Minnesota. Now, investigators say right now it's still unclear whether Vance Boelter.
Here's my theory that I'm starting to kind of, and I could be off. This is just my theory. So online, there's people, you know, oh, he voted, or he was a Republican. At some point, let me see the timeline here. He was the suspect, Boelter. In early 2000s, he was Republican. But then after, he declared no party reference. So early 2000s, his friends described him as conservative, anti-abortion, against all the stuff. He had a ministry. Somehow, it doesn't make sense to me. In 2016 through 2023, he was under the governors Dayton and then Walz. And then you see these killings yesterday that we talked about, right? There was 4 people that were targeted. Let's see here. Okay, so the first attack was actually in Champlin, Minnesota. This was at 2 a.m. State Senator John Hoffman shot 6 times, and Yvette Hoffman, John's wife, 5 times. These are the 2 people that survived. At 3:30 that morning, this guy moves to the next place, Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Melissa Horton, 55 years old, she gets shot and killed. And Melissa's husband shot and killed, Mark Hortman. Now, these 2, there was clips. It would take me a while to find it now. Both of them Democrats, but Melissa had voted for against free health care for immigrants. So she kind of like, she's Democrat, but she kind of changed her stance on certain things. And the thing with the couple that survived, here's this. John Hoffman, a member of the Democratic Party. His wife was not an elected official yet. So John Hoffman, the survivor, he supported a Republican-led budget that expanded Minnesota care to undocumented immigrants in 2023. He voted against the GOP effort to roll back that coverage, blocking a party line repeal. Senator's bill sponsored portions deceased. I don't know, because my thing was maybe he was targeting the 2 people he killed because of the way they voted against the health care. Both surviving lawmakers who are Democrats, when push came to shove, did vote with Republicans on key budget health measures to prevent government shutdown or ensure coverage communities. That's my theory. Is like I wonder, supported immigrant health coverage, voted against repeal. I don't know if this guy went targeting these people because of what they voted for. I wonder if he was once Republican and then changed his heart, had to change a heart, and he went crazy. Because there was one guy that, it wasn't one of the assassins that tried to assassinate Trump. He was Republican and then changed or something like that. I saw something like that. Some people, there's people that voted for Trump, loved him, and now hate him. And they're not for him. You know, I wonder if it was one of those cases. I don't know.
Boelter personally knew the victims, but noted they may have met at some point. Personally knew in Minnesota. Now, investigators say right now it's still unclear whether Vance Boelter personally knew the victims, but noted they may have met at some point. So if
Because you can't be pro-Trump and work for Tim Walz. Right? I don't know, right? I think at one point he had a change or something.
If you
I
have
don't know
any information, you are asked to contact the BCA. That information right there on your screen, 877-996-6222. Again, we are now in day 2 of this manhunt for Vance Boelter, the 57-year-old, still on the run at this time. So right now, still no word if there are any scheduled updates this morning here in Blaine. But as soon as we find out, we will let you know, and we will get all of that latest information for you right here on Fox 9. Leah?
All right. Thank you, Chinu. We'll continue to do that. Well, there have been several scenes connected to this manhunt. One of them is in Green Isle, which is about an hour southwest of Minneapolis. The suspect in the shooting has a family home there. Law enforcement has set up a command post at the town's baseball park while they were waiting for developments in the case.
We did not find him at the scene. The search is continuing for other evidence.
And can you say if there was evidence recovered?
I don't know that. The search for that is continuing. The search for people in the residence, there's nobody at the residence.
The suspect's family home is about 5 miles southeast of Green Isle. And we have learned that Boelter was also renting a room in Minneapolis part-time. He would stay there a couple of days out of the month. Vance Boelter reportedly returned to this home around 6 a.m. yesterday and texted his roommates that he had made some bad choices and may be dead soon. One of our Fox 9 reporters went to that Minneapolis home yesterday and talked with one of his roommates. And our Chinu Her is bringing us some of that conversation.
The roommate thing I thought was weird. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I thought it was weird that he was like breaking down crying. Like, this was his last text message to me. He's like crying and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. Was you guys more than roommates or something? What's going on over there? You know, it's just crying. It's his last text to me. Oh, I was like, what is going on with this dude? Let me see if I can find it. I have the short clip, the 47 seconds, but somebody sent me a 3-minute version. Maybe I can find it on let me see if I can find it on YouTube real quick, because he was like breaking down crying, yo. Neighbor. Oh, here it is. Let's check it out. Maybe this will give me more context.
Like I said, he never mentioned that personal connection to either of the lawmakers who were shot, to the senator. Like I said, he never mentioned those people at all. I don't even know who they are.
You don't know who they are? Oh, you're crying.
You know, and this is more complicated than some right-winger go losing his mind and going off on shootings.
Well, that's not necessarily a story we're going to tell. We want to get to the truth.
This is... someone that just gave up, I think.
He was somebody who just gave up?
Gave up on life for some reason, but he had God, and I don't understand it. I can't, but my feelings right now, I feel rage and I'm upset with him, putting me in this situation, selfishly.
Yeah.
I mean, look at my house, and all neighbors looking at me, and yeah. I love the guy, he's still my friend.
Yeah. Apologies, but can you describe what he conveyed in the text message?
He just said he felt he made some choices, and you know, he was planning some things that we didn't know about.
Is what he said.
And then that he might be dead soon, or be gone for a long time. And so that's when I saw that. I checked his room. He wasn't in there, and I called the police.
What time was the text message?
There's 2 of them, one at 6:03 and one at 6:10.
Thank you guys for the 1,000
Publicly,
likes.
because you understood there had been a security incident, or because you were alarmed by the nature of the text?
By the nature of the text. It was very alarming.
But it was also out of character,
yes,
as far as you can tell.
Yes. I never received a text from him before.
Did he say that goodbye to you yesterday also, or just text?
No, he just thanked me for our friendship and all that. He didn't say anything about goodbye.
Last night, though.
You know, I wish I could have saw. I woke up at 4 in the morning, you know. Maybe there's just no way you know. That's why I'd say it was so hidden. You know, so hidden. And to be honest, when downstairs or watching the news or something, he would say change the channel or something like that. He wasn't very interested.
He was not very active in.
You know, he lost a lot of interest in things. I think he just felt like he needed to make more money, and he was under pressure for that. And he just took it out on these lawmakers, probably.
Seemed like he had money.
I just can't. I'm not even there where I believe he did it.
Yeah.
Must be some mistake.
Do you know if he was at a DFL event last night? Did you know about? Do you know that?
DFL event last night. No idea. I went to bed early last night.
Did you see this video?
So that's not the clip that he was crying. Let me see if it's over here. There was a clip that is. Oh, here it is. I thought this is the one in. I guess it's different because I guess they got him another time. He sat down and started reading the text.
Guys, I made some choices, and you guys don't know anything about this, but I'm going to be gone for a while.
See?
Sorry. Take your time. Maybe dead shortly. So I just want to let you know I love you guys both, and I wish it had gone this way. I don't want to say anything more and implicate you in any way, because you guys don't know anything about this. But I love you guys, and I'm sorry for all the trouble this has caused. I love you guys.
So I don't know. Kind of weird, a little bit, you know. The roommate. I'll play one more clip here.
Shootings that have shocked the nation. We will have a live report in moments from Sibley County. The manhunt has continued for the suspect accused of shooting and killing Minnesota House Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark in their home in Brooklyn Park. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette were also shot in their home in Champlin Park. They're recovering in the hospital. The FBI is now leading a multi-agency search for this man. 57-year-old Vance Boelter. Barrett Leone joins us live from Highway 25 in rural Green Isle, which is located in Sibley County, just 52 minutes southwest of the Twin Cities. Barrett, we understand you have some big information here.
Yeah, Esme, a huge development in this manhunt for 57-year-old Vance Boelter. We just found out that the suspect's vehicle has been found. We are standing on Highway 25. If you can see behind me, there's some flashing lights way down there, and there's a gravel road right off the side there, and that is where we believe and what appears to be the suspect.
Thank you so much, Holly. Holly Bomb. Thank you. Thank you for the 50. Happy Father's Day to all the dads. So this is the area right now they're searching. I can't believe you guys think he's alive or deceased. How's this guy? Another CG said 57-year-old outpacing the SWAT. Well, that guy, that Harding guy, that former police chief or whatever, he was on the run for a while, and then they caught his ass. I wonder if this guy just offed himself in the woods. I don't know.
The suspect's vehicle has been found. We are standing on Highway 25. If you can see behind me, there's some flashing lights way down there, and there's a gravel road right off the side.
Security Co. was more private militia. Said he's a mercenary who works a lot in Somalia. They said hit list was a Wall's enemy list. He has many passports. He wore a Walter White mask, vest.
Well, thank you, KC Cat, for the 20. Trusted folks deep dove him. His armed security code was more private militia. Said he's a mercenary who works a lot in Somalia. They said hit list was Walt's enemy list. He has many passports. He wore a Walter White mask. That is kind of... Walter White did wear something like that, right? That shit's creepy, man.
there, and that is where we believe, and what appears to be the suspect's vehicle, it looks like it's abandoned. And even more telling, just at the intersection off of that gravel road is a discarded cowboy hat. It appears to just be thrown on the road, and that really is where the heart of this investigation is. I want to show you an image that we took of that hat, and as you can see in that image, it looks and matches the description of the hat that Boelter was last seen wearing, and is around that hat, around that vehicle on that gravel road, 301st Avenue is where the heaviest presence we're seeing of law enforcement. We're seeing multiple agencies on scene, U.S. Marshals, local police, troopers, all here at the center of this investigation. Right, so again, authorities are now blocking off Highway 25 where we're...
So somebody asked, like, how many vehicles does he own? They're saying that he owned several vehicles. And authorities have covered at least 3 as part of the manhunt. That's crazy. According to his roommate, Boelter possessed multiple vehicles, at least 3. Law enforcement has located 3 of his vehicles during the investigation. One was left at Hoffman's residence in Champlin. That was the first target earlier in the night. Another was discovered at a Minneapolis rental. He later exited. And then a third vehicle was found abandoned in Sibley County, about 60 miles southwest of Minneapolis, in Faxon Township. That's crazy. I might have to try to map that, maybe have an idea, but that's interesting. More than 3 cars. What's up with this guy and his wife?
Standing, so no one is able to pass through Highway 25. They've also blocked off the 301st Avenue, which is where we see that abandoned vehicle. We know that there's also agents, investigators at a nearby residence to the road where this investigation is happening. We also know, thanks to an emergency alert that I received just moments before coming to you live here, that Boelter has not been located now. And everyone in the area, according to this emergency alert, they're asked to keep doors locked and vehicles secured, report any suspicious information. So right now, as we are aware, Vance Boelter is still at large in this massive manhunt for this shooter.
All right, Barrett, amazing reporting. Please stay safe and please get going on the rest of that story because you're all over it. Thank you very much. This is a live look from the Blaine Command Center as we await the latest information on the manhunt for Vance Boelter. There is no word yet this morning on any upcoming briefings, but we'll be there if any news information comes out.
Yeah, I don't think that's what I'm saying. Who said that? That was a good post. Yeah, he killed YouTube Kid. He killed people that voted no on a bill. It was a bill, free healthcare for illegals. I wonder. I got to find out who else was on the list, the manifesto, the list of targets. Because, I mean, we can't ignore, too, the No King's Day flyers. That's like to send a message. No King's Day flyers. Either it's to send a message or it's a psyop. Because if you feel... Because he was registered once as Republican and then switched. I think that's significant to me that he switched. But he was registered once as Republican. So if he's Republican, why leave no King's Day flyers? You know, unless he was wanting to confuse and trick people. I feel that this guy maybe had a switch up at some point, which happens. It does happen. And maybe hated this guy, hated some of these, people. I don't know. Because why leave the flyer there? It doesn't make any sense. Unless you feel very strongly about immigrants and illegals and all that stuff that's happening, that's, pushing those nationwide. Unless you feel very strongly and you're leaving a message behind. Unless you want to be, maybe you're trying to be some type of Luigi Mangione. Everybody wants to be a hero now. Everybody wants to be a savior. Another Luigi, but for the immigrants. Just not as attractive, I guess. The women love Luigi, sending them all kinds of stuff. The women love killers, too. They send all kinds of stuff to killers and rapists and all kinds of stuff in jail. Women love that kind of stuff, so... I don't know if maybe he was trying to be this martyr for immigrants, and maybe he thought with this wave of protest that a sea of thank you, he was going to be the saint whatever of immigration and insurance. I don't know. Who knows?
Minnesota law enforcement officials say this is how the situation unfolded. First, a call to Champlin police at 2 a.m. yesterday, and officers respond to State Senator John Hoffman's home. Hoffman and his wife are found with gunshot wounds and taken to the hospital. One of the responding Brooklyn Park police officers suggests they check on Representative
News conference at 5 p.m. Thank you so much. Perfect timing. Perfect.
Hortman's home because she lives just a few miles away. They arrived at the Hortman home at 3:30 yesterday morning and were surprised to see an SUV that looked like a police car in the driveway with emergency lights on. Officers saw a person coming out of the home appearing to be a police officer. The officers were met immediately with gunfire from that person. They exchanged gunfire and the man ran back into the Hortman's home. Police were able to pull Mark Hortman out of the house. He would later die at the hospital. Police then used a drone to search for the suspect in the home.
Maybe. Dennis said maybe he was going to No Kings demonstration to blend in, to start pew-pewing again. Maybe so. He definitely was on a mission. Yeah, that could be it too.
It was there they found Representative Hortman, who had been shot and killed. Police determined the man had escaped out a back door. That man was later identified as Vance Boelter. Authorities want to hear from you if you have any information about him. Here is the tip line, 877-996-6222. You can also send information to bca.tips@state.mn.us. There is a $50,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. The FBI released this chilling image they say is Boelter outside one of the lawmakers' homes, captured on a Ring camera moments before the shootings there. You can see how he was dressed to impersonate a law enforcement officer and was wearing a silicone mask. We are also learning more about heroic actions taken by one of the victims. The nephew of State Senator John Hoffman, Matt Oleg, writes on Facebook, "My aunt threw herself on her daughter, using her body as a shield to save her life." Oleg writes that the DFL senator was shot 6 times. His wife Yvette shot 5 times early in the morning.
All right, let's check out the live feed. There's a live news broadcast, and then there's like this live scene. Oh, there you go, black again. Okay, we'll wait for them to come back, so we'll watch the live broadcast.
Walkout at the beginning of this year's session in a power struggle with Republicans. And
so this is what happened to
she
this.
She had been a top Democratic leader in the
Tim
State House
Walz
since
has too many connections to Una Livings. First Luigi, now this guy.
2017. She led Democrats in that 3-week walkout at the beginning of this year's session in a power struggle with Republicans. And she came to that power sharing agreement. She turned over the gavel to Republican Representative Lisa Demuth and assumed the title Speaker Emerita. Hortman used her position as Speaker in 2023 to fight for expanded protection for abortion rights, including legislation to solidify Minnesota's status as a refuge for patients from restrictive states so they could travel here to get an abortion. She also worked on legislation to protect the providers who provide them. She was 60 years old, first elected in 2012. Or she was not 66 years old. She and her husband were both shot and killed in their homes in Brooklyn Park 2 nights ago when the suspect, who police believe was Vance Boelter, broke in and shot them multiple times. He was dressed as a law enforcement officer, clearly impersonating an officer. Before he had come to their home after breaking into Senator John Hoffman's home. He and his wife, Yvette, were home with their young daughter in her mid-20s, Hope. Senator Hoffman and his wife were both shot multiple times. Both did survive and are out of surgery, but have a long road ahead of them. Senator Hoffman is 60 years old, and he was first elected in 2012.
Thank you, Florida.
He is the chairman of the Senate Human Services Committee, which oversees one of the biggest parts of the state budget. As we mentioned, they have a daughter, Hope. And everyone around the state we know is pulling for them. A lot of prayers going up for them that they both make a full recovery. We did have an update this morning that Yvette Hoffman was alert and able to answer questions, and they both are on a road to recovery, but it's going to be a long road, having been shot 8 or 9 times. Miraculously, neither one of them had any major organs hit in that shooting, but police responded to their home in Champlin and then proactively decided about an hour and a half later they made their way over to Representative
When you're cosplaying
Hortman's
Heisenberg in your MK Ultra hits.
Isn't that crazy? Scary and creepy, man. It should really be like an alert to all of us too, to be very careful about answering the door, because you really you could really easily trick somebody. I mean, pulling up with a vehicle, it's nighttime, 2, 3 in the morning, siren, the lights kind of flashing. You sent me some documents, thanks, Excluder. I'll check it out. 2, 3 in the morning, you know. But that the whole thing is that mask would creep me the F out, dude. I mean, I wonder what that looks like in person. That mask itself, I don't know that I could just open the door, but
we don't know what happened with the suspect other than that by 6 a.m. he was able to return to what I describe as a crash pad, a house that he rented a room to stay at sometimes in North Minneapolis with one of his best lifelong friends.
Yeah, that he'd known since 4th grade, apparently, a roommate that rented him a room in that house. And
oh, the roommate was trying. I thought the roommate said I didn't even know him or something. We barely knew him. So they're long-term, lifetime friends?
North Minneapolis.
Lifelong
Maybe I misheard him. I thought he said
sometimes in North Minneapolis with one of his best lifelong friends.
Yeah, that he'd known since 4th grade, apparently, a roommate
that's why he was crying.
That rented him a room in that house.
After Walz got mad over Dems crossing the aisle to vote to take away free healthcare to illegals, he made multiple speeches in recent days saying Dems need to get tough, angry, and mean. That's what Boelter did.
Interesting. Maybe I'll see if I can look that clip up after Walz got mad over Dems crossing the aisle to vote to take away free healthcare to illegals. I wonder if that's what set this guy off. Yeah, it seems like it. I think he was leaving a message with those flyers and the people that he killed. He made multiple speeches in recent days saying Dems need to get tough, angry, and mean.
Believes that Boelter was there at about 6 a.m. From there, we have those surveillance videos that we've shown where he's wearing a cowboy hat and appears to be a fresh change of clothes.
And the FBI did release that picture. That's the one you've seen of him in his cowboy hat. We believe that picture was taken outside of a bank where he went to get money out after the shootings.
A source confirmed to me that he withdrew money from a bank at some point after the shootings and that he was driving a Buick. That information about the Buick was not public at that time until later on yesterday. The FBI released those photos at about 3 p.m. Here he is with the cowboy hat and the change of clothes at some point in Minneapolis yesterday. And later on in the evening, there apparently was information that he may have been headed towards South Dakota. Authorities reached out to South Dakota authorities with a be on the lookout and included information about a Buick that he was either driving or riding in at that time. And then fast forward from that point to this morning by 6 or 7 a.m., that very cowboy, it appears to be the exact same cowboy hat, the same band that goes around the brim, lying on the road about 5 miles from his home in Green Isle, which is Sibley County, about an hour southwest of the Twin Cities. So that would indicate that at some point during the night, he made it down there close to where he lived, and he apparently ditched the Buick that he was in. The alert that went out to neighbors was that it's believed that the suspect left his vehicle, the one that he was driving, and then, of course, the cowboy hat was found nearby.
This is some drone video we took of that area earlier today, and all morning long through the afternoon, just more and more law enforcement and different kinds of tactical vehicles have been entering that area. But as we reported earlier, you can see officers approaching a property in that area. They have been alerting homeowners ahead of time. We're going to come in. We want to search your home.
They've been doing these searches. I got a maps. I got a maps of the area. Oh, this is so. The first vehicle was in Champlin, Minnesota, approximate location near to where Senator John Hoffman and his wife were shot in a suburban residential area northwest Minneapolis. So the first location where he left the first vehicle was right here. Vehicle. Okay, let's see. So they didn't say what type of vehicle it was. So the first vehicle at the Champlin Hoffman residence was believed to be the initial vehicle he used to arrive at the house. This car was left near the scene. I wonder why he just left this well, he didn't kill him. They survived, the first group of people, the first 2 people shot. But he left this vehicle right near the scene after shooting them. Why? I guess it was never meant to. And so the second vehicle, they didn't mention what type of vehicle either, was used as an intermediate switch vehicle after leaving Champlin. So he had this shit really planned out. I guess he had two vehicles in the same area nearby, so I guess is what they're saying. So he used it as an intermediate vehicle to switch after leaving Champlin. Notes, surveillance video reportedly caught Boelter leaving this property on foot before later being connected to the Buick. I'm talking about the second one. So the second location, Minneapolis, it was a rental property. Where's the second location? Oh, here it is. Okay, right here. So this was the second location. They're saying this was near a rental property. Used as an intermediate. Oh, okay. So the first location in Champlin, he had a vehicle there. He leaves the vehicle by the first location. This car was left near the scene. The second one right here, the second one is the one that was used as an intermediate switch vehicle after leaving Champlin. I made a mistake. After leaving Champlin. Surveillance reportedly caught Boelter leaving this property on foot before later being connected to the Buick. And then the third location was in Faxon Township, Sibley County. This is where the final abandoned vehicle was found. And it contained guns, ammunition, passports, cash, manifesto, and kill list. I wonder why he would leave that behind, a manifesto and kill list. And it also had no King's Day flyers. When you leave something like that behind, it's like you want it to be found, I guess. Was he desperate? Was he freaking out? Did he run off into the woods? And a cowboy hat was believing to have belonged to Boelter was found nearby. Very weird. So vehicle 1 was, it says getaway 1 abandoned at the first crime scene. Vehicle 2, staging vehicle, rental address connection. And then vehicle 3, final car, Buick found with loaded guns and manifesto. Odd.
We have a few people kind of just standing here behind me, just taking it all in as they look at this memorial. And it's been really emotional here. You know, people walk up here and you can see the tears starting to form in their eyes. And then once they look here and they see all of the tributes and the flowers and the American flags and the signs that people have left, it just hits them that she and her husband are both truly gone. Now, people have been telling me all day they felt compelled to come here because they feel like they need to pay their respects and honor the service that Melissa has done for this state. And so it's just been a very somber day here. It's been very quiet. Not too many people are talking to each other. There's been several hugs also throughout, even between strangers, people who don't know each other. I've seen just kind of go over to each other and embrace each other. And that's something else that people have talked to me about today, just the importance of being here.
Thank you guys for hanging out with me a little bit today.
Being surrounded by other people.
We almost got 2,000 likes.
Grieves this loss. And so you can see there's a woman here coming to place a sign. It says, in honor of our beloved Melissa, and it's embroidered in blue. I've seen several people bring flags along with candles here to kind of place in that flower.
So the press conference, Michelle looked into it, the press conference is at 6:30. There's going to be a press conference 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So 5:30 Central.
All that evidence was definitely planted. Ain't no way someone had all that. Too suspicious if you ask me.
Look at that. Oof. It is very suspicious. That makes no sense. There's an hour difference. Yeah, so it'll be 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central, the press conference. Wow. Look at that. They're bringing out the artillery for this guy.
emotional time here at the Capitol as people remember and honor Representative Hortman.
Chat, he voted for Trump.
Right.
Why would
Thanks
he
so
be
much,
triggered for
Jessica.
no
We
health care for
appreciate
illegals?
your coverage today,
Please pay
and
attention.
We're gonna
Prayers
head,
for these
back out
families.
now
Happy
to that
Father's Day.
scene in Sibley.
Let me see. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Sin, for the 5. Appreciate that. Ishi, thank you for the 10. Says chat. If he voted for Trump, why would he be triggered for no healthcare for illegals? That's true, yeah. Yeah. Just because you're registered as someone doesn't mean you voted a certain way. I'm registered as a Democrat. I never changed it. Back in 2016, I think, yeah, 2016 was the first time I voted. But right before that, I went and registered. And at the time, I thought that's how I was going to vote. And as the time went by, my daughter was born. She was born in 2016. A lot of things just started changing for me. You know, a lot of my thoughts and feelings. And I started paying attention a little bit more to the news. And my whole thing changed. I never went and updated it because over here in Florida, when you register to vote, it's like doxing yourself. They put your information online. They put your address and stuff in some places. So I just don't go in there update it because I don't want to be putting my information on there. But the only thing is his friends said that he
Happy Father's Day.
voted for
Mel,
Trump.
As always,
His friends did
much
say he voted for
respect
Trump.
to you. Thank you for all the hard work so we can get all the things. Winking face.
Let me find out something right now. Okay, here I'll give you an example. Ryan Wesley Ralph, one of the guys that tried to assassinate Trump, and he went. I don't know what happened to that guy. Some of these assassinators, they just disappear. You see them and they get arrested, or I don't know what happens to them. They're gone. Never really hear from them again. This is the guy. A little recap. This is the guy that on September 15, 2024. This guy was waiting for Trump at the International Golf Club, Trump International Golf Club. He was hiding in the trees and stuff. Remember that? And you could literally see something. Oh, that's actually a pretty good video. And you could literally see something pointing out from the fence. And no shots were fired at Trump, but I think they shot at him. I thought the guy drove off. Anyway, this guy initially supported Trump, claimed in 2016 I made my vote for Donald Trump. I made my Donald Trump my choice. So that guy initially voted for Trump. In 2020, he changed his stance. He regretted Trump's support. I was misguided and I made a terrible mistake. And even said, "You are free to assassinate Trump as well as me for the error that I made in judgment." You remember that guy making all those posts and all that stuff? He regretted it. Some people have a change. Everybody, a lot of people have a change. But some people have a drastic, murderous, assassinate, crazy, psychotic change. Or maybe they never really were that to begin with. And so once they start seeing things, they I don't know, they go nuts. So he was registered. I'm talking about Ryan Wesley Ralph, the guy that was, supposedly attempted assassination. He was registered as a Democrat from 1989 to 2012. Then he was independent. It says not voting in 2016, but claimed he would have supported Trump. Later voted in the Democratic primaries and donated to Democrats in 2019 and 2020. So it's really shifty. Excuse me. It's really shifty. I can look at the guy and tell. Sometimes you can look at people. They're not no damn, whatever. Voted for Trump. I don't know. Some people. That guy didn't give me that vibe at all, even though he had like a history of supposedly supporting him. And so this guy was off his rocker and he waited out there for hours. Waited out for hours trying to plan and plot to kill the guy. So you never really know. That's what I'm saying. It's like, and I'll say there's crazy people on both sides. So I'm not necessarily, but I'm just saying I think it's interesting, the no flyers thing, the people that he killed and targeted, the video clip of this lady recently voting against free insurance for immigrants. But I think she did it reluctantly too. I felt like she felt pressured. She kind of wasn't too happy about it. It's because I think they're trying to avoid government shutdown or something. Oh, thank you for the live feed. Independent has a different live feed. Okay. Look at the car. They're taking the car. I'll set her up on the screen. Thank you for the feed. Who was that? Somebody just said that to me. Oh, Ave. Thank you so much on X. Let me set it up here so everybody can see it as well so we don't miss anything. This is a pretty big deal. The story, this case, you know, this whole situation, it's very odd. And it seems like we're in an age where, yeah, these people are going to be more of a target. These people in politics, these people, lawmakers. Glitter, I still haven't found your email out. I'm trying to. I'll look for it in a second. See the car being towed.
This is the only dirt road. The other one is has pavement. Yeah, asphalt.
All right, we'll listen to the broadcaster. I'm going to check my emails because people are sending me stuff.
That continues as we speak. We, of course, will continue following this situation for you and bring you the latest updates. But we also, while the U.S. Open is in a rain delay, we are watching the U.S. Open, and once it goes back to active play, we will return you to that programming. But in the meantime, we do want to get a quick check on the weather with Jamie. He's in the backyard with some information on a KARE 11 weather impact alert day.
So press conference 6:30 Eastern. We're waiting for. Might as well just wait for that, I guess. It's an hour and a half though, but we'll wait, I guess. Press. So that's in an hour and a half from now for those. Maybe you're in different time zones and stuff. We'll definitely find this guy. I don't know. You know, that other guy's still on the run too. The guy that killed his 3 daughters. Still on the run. This guy, to me, seems very well connected, has a lot of connections, money, finances, multiple vehicles, passports, cash, guns. His wife is over here moving stuff. What? It's like out of a movie or something.
You crushed it this past week. You were consistently some of the best coverage to watch. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Cheers. I appreciate that. Thank you for the 5, Sasha. I was able to take a nap too, which was really good today. Let's see. Glitter, I don't see your email. Maybe if you could send it again.
She was very emotional. It made me sad to see her so tormented about her decision. I support America, United States, and not the BS we have seen the past week.
Maybe I should play that clip. Wife detained. Let's play this real quick, actually. I'll look for the other one.
Reporter Tom Hauser, and Tom has new information from multiple law enforcement sources about Boelter's wife being detained today, Tom.
Yeah, I've been working the phones for several hours, as you know, trying to track this down while we were all covering the manhunt here in the Twin Cities this morning. Sources tonight tell me the case was also taking a turn about 90 minutes to the north near Onamia in Mille Lacs County. Multiple law enforcement sources with direct knowledge of what happened tell 5 Eyewitness News there was a traffic stop at a convenience store near Onamia. Between 10 and 11 a.m. this morning, law enforcement made a traffic stop involving a vehicle carrying several relatives of Vance Boelter, including his wife. We have talked to an eyewitness who says about a dozen law enforcement squads converged on the vehicle and remained on the scene for 2 to 3 hours. We are also told by several of our sources the vehicle contained a weapon, ammunition, cash, and passports. Now, to our knowledge, no one in that group has been arrested, just detained for questioning. It's also unclear why they were stopped, whether they were being tracked, or if it was a random traffic stop. I am told briefings about this incident are ongoing yet tonight, and we will continue to track more developments. And again, sources say Vance Boelter's wife.
So he has a big family. The plot thickens. Democrat shills are insisting that Vance Boelter lived in a small house with Papa John's delivery guy who swears he's a Trump supporter. The reality is he's married with a family and he owns on a sprawling property in a very large home. Yeah, multiple locations too. That man was up.
Hey, I got you guys, I got you. Hello, hello, hello.
Big family, I guess, yeah.
We're taking a look at the home of what is believed to be the suspect in now the shooting deaths of state lawmaker Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark. We're taking a look at the home.
Big family. Let me see what else I can find. I want to know what people have gathered. I'm sure they deep dove this guy. Let me see what else they say. So the hat was found. Wait, who was on the manifesto too? Did they release that? Let's see. Damn, that said about 50 to 70 named targets. Primarily Democratic, farmer, labor, PFL politicians. High-profile names explicitly mentioned include Tim Walz, Amy Colebrook, Tina Smith, Ilhan Omar. Wow. Attorney General Keith Ellison.
Could he have had a stocked boat hitched on that river right behind those woods? The guy had it organized with the cars. So possible.
Let me see. Do I still have the maps open? I'm gonna have to pull up the maps again. Let's take a look at that area. Yeah. He's very well planner, big planner. I don't think anything was just coincidence with this guy. Everything was planned.
Should we start with that, I guess? I'll start with that first. Okay.
Yeah, why would he appoint it? That's something that doesn't make sense with the story. Why would it be appointed by Tim Walz? SWAT teams going into homes near the Minnesota lawmaker suspected shooter. They're checking houses and garages. Let me show you this video.
So we came up the road about a half a mile. This SWAT team is all up here. See over there, Nate?
I'm searching too.
We're about a half a mile from where we were down on the main road. Look at this. They're apparently checking houses looking for Vance. Wondering where the SWAT team went.
Tim Walz lover. This is interesting, this one, because you can kind of see the guys. Oh, you can see it on the other one too, the guys in the field.
In Minnesota.
And immediately after that shooting in Brooklyn Park, authorities alerted homeowners to be careful in a vicinity of the golf course right by Representative Hortman's
I think
home.
the manifesto was fake,
At that point, they
trying
did
to
not find the
protect
suspect.
Governor Walz.
We later learned that at about 6 a.m. he made it to a home in North Minneapolis where he rented a room that he stayed at sometimes with one of his best friends for when he worked in the Twin Cities, which when he would have to get up early to go to work and not have to drive all the way out to his home in Green Isle. At around 6 a.m., he was known to be at the house. At some point after that, he was captured on surveillance video wearing a cowboy hat and a change of clothes, and apparently took money from a bank. Now, here is some new video for the first time, and this is that home in Minneapolis, which was searched later in the afternoon. Now, the friends and roommates, they proactively called police because they were worried about text messages that they received and upon hearing the news of what had taken place. But this is video from a neighbor of the search of that home carried out by investigators looking for Vance Boelter in this investigation. At the point, as I reported yesterday, at this point they were somewhat hopeful that they might be able to find him there. And he, of course, was not there by that point.
Yeah, and we had the roommate we interviewed yesterday who said he'd been friends with Boelter for decades. He's known him since the 4th grade, he said, and said that he did not appear to be someone that was particularly interested in politics as of late. It's not something that he talked about all the time. That's weird, too. But we do know that police said they found a manifesto and a hit list of sorts in the suspect's vehicle. And Lou, you were able to confirm that there were 70 names on that list.
Yeah, up to 70 names. Up to 70 names, and they were mostly Democratic politicians, but there also were some other maybe former politicians, as well as locations, Planned Parenthood, where abortions would take place. His friend did tell us that he was extremely anti-abortion. So that was part of his belief system that was shared with us by the friend.
And one of the most telling moments yesterday when we were in live coverage was when the roommate read the text message that had been allegedly sent by Boelter to him, apologizing for what was done, saying, "I might not see you for a while, or I might be dead." Seemed already as if he was realizing that he had made bad decisions. In fact, that's how it was paraphrased to us, that he said, "I made some bad decisions." Unfortunately, one of the decisions was not to turn himself in, because this active manhunt continues today. And we want to bring up another live picture now of the scene that they have been searching since about 7 o'clock this morning, is our understanding, when a Buick was found on Highway 25 on the side of the road that the suspect was believed to have been driving last night. We do know that alert went out to South Dakota officials.
The mental gymnastics and cope in chat trying to somehow blame this on the left is hilarious.
Buick.
I hate that people can't realize that both sides suck.
So, I appreciate your support in the 5. So tell me this, what do you think was the point of the flyers? And you can reply under the super chat so I can see it. What do you think was the point of the flyer, the No Kings flyer? And the other thing, here's my other question to you, Tactical. What do you think about, okay, he was registered Democrat and then he declared himself independent, and then he went and worked under 2 governors, Democrat people, and Tim Walz. What do you think all that was? Do you think he was right-wing the whole time and plotted this from years and years ago and said, you know what, I'm going to slowly, I'm going to unalign myself with the right party and change myself from Republican to independent, and I'm just going to go work with Tim Walz and these other people for several years as a whole psyop for a decade, over 2 decades, in a plan to then, because the whole time maybe he was right, he was an undercover right, and so you think he did all that? That's the part that I'm questioning and I'm wondering about. Because I brought up I don't know if you were here too, I brought up the example of that Wesley Ruth guy. That Wesley Ruth guy he supported Trump. and then he changed his mind and went crazy, and then he went and tried to kill Trump at the golf club. That's what I'm wondering about.
Massive area that's very bucolic, lots of farms and groves of trees out in that area. Our Ian Russell has been live there.
The governor hired him as bipartisan. He mentioned bipartisan for years.
Did he? Oh, I'm gonna check that out. Tim Walz. Hired. What's that guy's name again? This guy, so many names lately, but yeah, Vance Luther Boelter. Okay, so it does say he was appointed to a non-partisan, bipartisan advisory, not hired as a political ally or with partisan intent. Let's see, GWDB is a statutorily bipartisan board. He was hired to a non-partisan, bipartisan advisory board. Only about 40 to 60 appointees serve at a time, and nominations come from a variety of sectors, both political and non-political. In 2016, appointed by Governor Mark Dayton.
The left are pure freaking evil. Happy Father's Day to all my brothers. Red heart, red heart.
Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. He was reappointed in 2019 by Governor Tim Walz. Both Democrats, but a point reflects breadth across private sector representatives, not party loyalty. So they're saying supposedly Walz didn't know Boelter personally, according to the Star Tribune. Well, they're saying the appointment was through a standard nonpartisan selection process. GWDB members include individuals with varied political beliefs. Walz's team emphasized the board is meant to advise based on industry's expertise, not partisan alignment. Okay. I'm gonna keep looking into
Other
it.
than that, I wasn't able to make out any sort of make or model or what year that Buick may be, but it seemed to be in good condition. It didn't look like any of, the tires were popped out, or that it didn't look like it had been in any sort of crash or anything, which would make sense given the fact that we saw that black Buick just on the side of the road here, on the side of Highway 25. So that Buick, we believe, from hearing hearing what time law enforcement got on the scene, and also hearing from neighbors, that black Buick maybe got to the scene sometime early this morning. That, of course, is...
So it's hard to say, because they're saying he was appointed to a bipartisan advisory board, meaning a board that involves both parties, just like when a bill is passed and it takes bipartisan support, cooperation with both sides. So he wasn't hired because of his politics. He was hired because he represented a sector, private security. So I don't know. I don't know if that really gives us answers or not there,
And has had a good vantage point, being able to see those tactical teams. We have another photographer, D-Mine. He has also been getting video of that tactical team. I don't know if it's the same tactical team or an additional one, but searching those homes, going in and out of the woods, searching this extensive rural land that is out here. So that is kind of the newest development. That car being towed away about 15 minutes or so ago, still this incredibly large law enforcement presence that we can't see much of what exactly is going on because we're more than a mile away, because that's the perimeter that was set by the State Patrol. That Buick, Julie, I just want to kind of take our viewers backwards a little bit and highlight this point. That Buick
Thank you.
Was here when my photographer and I arrived on scene around 8:45 this morning. It was that Buick and that cowboy hat, and I want to make it clear for our viewers that we have not had it confirmed from authorities that cowboy hat does belong to the suspect, Vance Boelter, but we do know that based off of pictures that we released from authorities and based off of the picture that I took of that cowboy hat, they do look incredibly similar, Julie. So
yeah,
that's where this whole thing began this morning, was with that black Buick and with that cowboy hat, and now this entire police presence has ratcheted up throughout the morning, and now...
It's hard to say. It's hard. Grandpa Barney, thank you so much for the 20. I appreciate all your support through the crazy... protest coverage that left up pure evil. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you too. Happy Father's Day to all the followers in the chat and all the dads that are involved in their kids' life. I mean, I know some people are in situations, you know, but it's important and it matters, you know, the kids growing up. A lot of some of the people that I've dated in the past, you know, they didn't have their dads in their life. I feel like sometimes you can, but sometimes people are horrible too. Maybe it might not be the best thing for some of these fathers, you know, but it's important growing up if you can, if you have a decent person, decent father in your life, you know. Protect you from mom. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Was what they believed to be the suspect's vehicle. And we also know, Joe, that neighbors in that area had a fairly rough night last night because they were very concerned about their safety, knowing that Vance Boelter owns a home so near to them, and that officials were even yesterday focusing on that home, obviously.
We're back with 2 Minnesota state lawmakers shot in their homes in what officials say was a targeted assassination. The suspect escaped after exchanging gunfire with police, with an active manhunt for the shooter still ongoing. Special agent from the ATF St. Paul Field Division, Travis Riddle, joins us now. Agent Riddle, I know that you're involved in the investigation. You're limited in what you can say, but to take us back and to understand, where are you guys on finding this individual?
Good morning. First of all, I want to speak on behalf of all ATF members when I say that we all grieve the victims of this senseless tragedy.
Yeah.
As far as where we stand at this point, we're still actively seeking the suspect in conjunction
I was about to
with
say
our
my
local, state,
father-in-law
and
was a
federal
lifelong
partners.
Republican and was appointed by a Dem to a board on law enforcement
Really?
because of his background.
Interesting. That's interesting. Okay. So yeah, you can be hired or appointed for any multitude of reasons, not necessarily just politics. I think that's the point the other person was making too.
So I understand, I've seen the picture, he's got a mask, he's wearing an officer's uniform on. We even heard a report he may have been in a vehicle that appeared to be like an officer's car. How was he identified?
Single moms holding it down, smiling face with hearts.
Happy Father's Day, Ganja. Happy Father's Day, Ganja. Thomas, happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, everybody.
As the suspect following the incident.
Following the exchange of gunfire at the second residence, when he fled on foot, there was identification that was located at the scene that helped us ID the suspect. We were also able, utilizing our E-Trace system on recovered firearms, also confirmed the identity of the suspect.
So this is a political appointee, someone who's involved in politics. It seems to be a very politically motivated action here. What is the threat to the public as long as he's at large?
Well, potentially there's always a threat. He is considered armed and dangerous. At this time, we do not know what his access is to additional weapons. But additionally, the violent assault targeting the Minnesota legislature it's deeply troubling, and it's wholly unacceptable. Such acts of violence and intimidation threaten our democracy and have absolutely no place in our political system or in our communities.
I know that he sent a text message, or allegedly, to his roommates, kind of alluding to what had happened and kind of, I guess, giving them cover, saying you didn't know anything about this. In the investigation, is there anything public that shows this could have been seen coming?
At this point in the investigation, I have absolutely no information on whether or not this was going to be preventable.
Is he believed to still be armed? You said some weapons were left behind.
We are anticipating that he is still potentially armed, yes.
Do you have any indication that he's receiving help from anyone or group?
Not at this time. The investigation is still ongoing, and we're still exploring all avenues.
So I'm not exactly sure. It seems like this happened in a neighborhood, and he was able to flee, and now there's a manhunt. Can you explain the situation? Did he get into the woods? Was there a large tract of land behind the neighborhood? Like, how was he able to get away, it seems?
Well, and you're correct, it is a neighborhood. It is not wooded. When officers arrived, they exchanged gunfire with the suspect, and they didn't have the house surrounded. There was only a couple of officers who responded. So while they were seeking cover and also trying to render aid to victims, the suspect was able to flee from the residence undetected.
Now, we're hearing that this suspect owned a security company. Obviously, he dressed as a police officer. Can you help us understand, did he have any type of tactical advantage to execute this and thwart law enforcement, or is it simply a little bit of he got lucky and was able to get away?
I think in this particular instance, he just got lucky and got away. I don't believe his tactical expertise would have surpassed the law enforcement response.
All right, last question, which is obviously the most important one. Are you confident that this person will be found soon?
Absolutely. The number of agencies and officers and agents that are dedicated to this case, I'm very confident that we're going to be able to successfully get this to an end.
Travis Riddle, ATF, thank you so much for joining.
So it's a really interesting thing. Somebody sent me a video. Maybe we can listen to a little bit of this. This is a 30-minute video. Maybe we can listen to a few minutes of this video in the background. There's a lot of talk about what was this guy's political affiliation, you know, and so some people are saying, well, this is cut and dry. Oh, he's, you know, a Trump supporter, right wing. Then people, because of the way he registered initially. But, you know, I think a lot of those people are ignoring that he switched his party to independent. I thought that's significant. I feel like I wonder if he had some type of shift, you know? So he was, okay, originally conservative leaning, registered Republican in the early 2000s. He ran or supported, this is indicators that he was right leaning, right? So in the 2000s, he registered as a Republican. Early 2000s, he ran or supported a faith-based, I don't know, group, I guess. He supported anti-abortion. He was pro-2A causes, and that's usually right-wing, I guess, right? Or right-leaning. He served on a bipartisan state board.
I appreciate your coverage very much. Please remember you have watchers of all political ideologies who appreciate non-biased apolitical coverage.
Nick, thank you for the fire. I appreciate that. So yeah, so these are the indicators for the right side, right? So, but then he served on a bipartisan state board under both Democratic governors, which doesn't clearly signal any kind of loyalty either way, because it was by a bipartisan state board. And the thing is, I guess he specialized in security, so maybe it was for that, from what I read. Now,
thank you for all the great dads. Mine was a firefighter and first responder. Looked up to the guy.
Let me look at that. Read that again. Let's see. All the great dads. Mine was, oh, that's awesome. I have a good friend of mine that's a firefighter. He was EMT first, I think, but then he went to firefighter, which they do that too. That's awesome. Happy Father's Day. So the thing that kind of raises red flags for me, though, right? So those are the things that people are pointing to for leaning right. So, oh well, the other thing too, I guess you could say. So the other thing is the manifesto had targeted Democrats, but you know the lady that was killed, she had recently voted against, you know, free health care for immigrants. The No King's Day flyer stands out to me for, like, maybe this guy had some type of change, unless it was a psyop, unless he was right and wanted to do a psyop. Because what that represents too, that No King's Day flyer, it's an anti-authoritarian movement. So he could have had some radical change inside him. Something could have happened. And I honestly, there's people that on the left or the right that don't like Trump anymore, or at some point they've changed, and there's people that have changed and supported Trump. The red flags for me is the flyers, his political party change. For you to go out of your way and change, I don't know if it's really out of your way, but for him to change from Republican to independent and then work with Tim Walz, even though I was on a bipartisan level, I think those are red flags for me. I wonder if he got radicalized at some point, change some extremes. I don't know. The thing is, I don't know if we have any kind of social media history. I don't know if this thing was scrubbed, but he didn't post on social media. Because the Ryan Ralph guy who tried to kill Trump, who had a weapon pointed at him, you could see his change on social media. You could see where he was like, I liked him, I don't like him anymore. And then he started doing all this, the Ukraine, the Ukraine flag, holding it up, and we stand with Ukraine and all that. He had an extreme flip, and he hated the guy.
They want us to think he's Republican. The flyers could be a misdirection, like he was against illegals and going to kill people if there are.
The radicalization cases, people feeling disillusioned with political parties often disengage and start seeing all institutions as the enemy. So originally registered Republican and then switched to no party or independent. Oh, he could be, listen, he could have switched from F to left, F to right. Like there's people like that too. All these motherfuckers, it's all the same or whatever. He could have evolved from conservative or Republican or whatever to kill everybody. The thing that throws me off though, that's the manifesto with all Democrats. So that would make it seem like he leaned left. I mean, leaned right. Sorry, leaned right. Unless that was a psyop. I don't know what's a psyop and what's not. You have the Democrat kill list, but you also have the No Kings Day flyer. So, like, what is it?
It's not necessarily, in fact, likely not the government.
So we're waiting for the press conference. Let me listen to this video a little bit that somebody sent me.
A wannabe dictator? It's because he is. It's because he is.
That's Tim Walz talking.
Oh. The governor's being mean, and the governor's speaking out on that. Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce.
That's the somebody sent that in the super chat. That's the message he was talking about.
Because we have to ferociously push back on this. And again, I'll speak to my teacher colleagues in here. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the shit out of him back. You push back.
We don't have any direct links. However, there were some flyers that said no kings within the suspect vehicle. And as we know, the planned events throughout the state of Minnesota today is a no kings event.
Before we begin this video, I want to make it clear to everyone that this is a developing and ongoing situation. And so this is by no means an attempt to reach a final verdict or...
This guy's name is Vance Dow.
Actually be on your side, right? For instance, if you are going to immediately rush to blame Donald Trump and MAGA supporters for a tragic event, it better actually be true that the attacker was a supporter of Donald Trump and MAGA. And thus far in the situation you're seeing out of Minnesota early today, again, we don't know the full story. Seems to me, by all accounts, this guy was some type of schizophrenic, mentally ill loonbag when you put the whole piece and story together. But immediately, you saw Democrats...
Who knows? Maybe he's getting kicks. I'm going to put this No Kings flyer, and I'm going to put a hit list of all Democrats. Let these people twist their minds and figure it out themselves. Fuck them, you know?
Democrats in the early hours, like for instance, Ed Krasenstein right here, going out and saying, quote, Trump needs to stop stoking violence with his hateful rhetoric directed at Democrats. You also saw here from Kyle Kulinski, just a really ridiculous statement here. This is recklessly irresponsible. He immediately went out to say
money laundering.
That a, quote, pro-Trump terrorist killed Minnesota Democrats in the horrific attack here today. And so in this video, I want to give the actual full story of what we know thus far. And again, make a strong case here. Perhaps, maybe there's a little more to the situation than that meets the eye. We'll tell you, staying to the channel if you are new, with a horrific and representative meeting violence, right? These were indeed politically motivated, targeted assassination attempts. Matter of fact, this individual was an illegal alien from Egypt who came to the United States.
No way. Hold on. I didn't know that. Wait, what? Hold on.
Why did it immediately happen? Now, that said, without, again, knowing anything about this story, and frankly, I think it rings eerily similar to the Boulder, Colorado attack that you saw just a couple weeks ago, where MSNBC early on was saying that a white male, right, they're reporting, oh, white male is the suspect. Hours later, it gets confirmed that, as a matter of fact, this individual was an illegal alien from Egypt who came to the United States under Joe Biden era immigration open border policies, and then they just stopped talking about it. Take a listen here in the early hours as MSNBC immediately rushes to pin this act of political violence on Trump, of course, totally ignoring the fact that for the past several weeks, Democrats have been literally committing massive acts of political violence in the streets. But take a listen.
Given this is also not a normal question, because I'm going to ask it about the Department of Justice, which heretofore, prior to this administration, it's always been held that the Department of Justice is an apolitical body. Do you see it as such now? And if you don't, the fact that these are two Democratic lawmakers that have been attacked, one killed and one right now fighting for his life in a hospital after being shot multiple times, do you have any doubt, any concern that because of political differences, biases, this will not be addressed the way it should be?
It should be apolitical, right? That's what we have seen from Republican and Democratic administrations up until this one. Right now, Donald Trump has in place people who are more loyal to him than they are to the Constitution and the rule of law. And what really, if I can rewind the tape, if I can, just 4 months ago, we saw this president pardon violent January 6 offenders, people who were convicted.
1,500 of them.
1,500. He just pardoned them. That, to me, normalized political violence. These are people, Alex, that he summoned to Washington. He told them, come to D.C. We'll be wild, he says in a tweet. And they come to Washington at his behest. They come with their zip ties. They come with their weapons. They come with their bear spray. And he tells them to march down to the Capitol and to fight like hell. And they do exactly that until he tells them to stop. And so now he gets back in office and he pardons them. That, to me, is the normalization of political violence. And
I can understand the way you say it that way. Absolutely.
So immediately, without knowing anything about the situation, MSNBC is basically saying no matter who it was, apparently, even if it's a leftist, it's apparently Donald Trump's fault for normalizing political violence, which I guess the argument there as well is that the political violence that you've seen again by the left over the past couple of weeks is somehow also the fault of Donald Trump. Because he made people mean, guys. He just made people upset.
Okay, all right. Move on for that. I guess we'll have to see, man. We'll have to see what comes up. I'm still checking emails. Let's stay with the updates on the story.
At the junction of State Highway 25 and 301st. I don't know if they're loading up into other vehicles, but as you can see, they're kind of spreading out to the left side. Clearly have already removed that vehicle, that black Buick here. We're going to pan the camera over just a tiny bit, see if we can see a little bit more here as they continue to move around here. We've also seen a transport vehicle take some folks towards Green Isle. That left in the last 15 minutes or so. But really, this has been sort of how things have looked like since that black Buick was towed out of here. Just kind of some folks finishing up, or it appears to be finishing up their work in the field and in the grove of trees to the left side, kind of getting in these vehicles and going from there. But as you can see, kind of hanging out at the junction there of State Highway 25 and 301st here.
Yeah, it
This
certainly
guy
does
is going
appear
to be
that they're
found
clearing
disguised
that
wearing a
scene
wig and a
as we
dress cause
speak.
everyone is looking for this
And a
guy.
dress.
They're heading to the
He
right
probably
now,
would
which
put on a
be,
dress.
towards Green Isle. Right now is where they're heading towards.
Okay, and Ian, to be clear, that's not toward where Joe McCoy is stationed right now, or that's the opposite direction?
It'd be the opposite direction. So the left side of your screen would be the east side of this whole area. That is where Joe has been. I believe that's 291st, if I have my streets correct here. I think it's 291st is where Joe is. We're on 301st. And then where we called you earlier this afternoon talking about the officials that we saw, law enforcement officials going through the house and searching a different house, just kind of checking on some things. I believe that's 311, to kind of give you a sense of direction and streets here where things are.
Okay, and Ian, obviously we can see them leaving here, but does it appear that there's still any ongoing searching in that area, or does it seem that they've kind of wrapped it up as far as boots on the ground?
It appears wrapped it up. As we've been kind of listening to you all kind of recap some things back at the station here, a lot of those folks have just been standing next to those armored vehicles and the transport vans and things. They've been just standing, honestly, for the past 15 or so minutes, I think waiting for some, either shift change, because the state trooper that's been down here on our end, on our side of things, has swapped out. I don't know if that's what they were waiting for, or if they were kind of just debriefing and talking about some other things. But since then, a lot of them have just been standing. As you can see now, it looks like another squad car, or it looks like it's Egan police here. We did see them earlier this afternoon. I think it was 3 of them total is what I saw, what I counted kind of coming into that area.
Apparently there's a new interview of the friend, the former roommate and friend of the suspect. Check this out. I haven't seen this
He'd
yet.
always say, yeah, no, because he was on call for work, and he'd always say, yeah, I need rest for work, so I'm sharp. Because he was extracting eyeballs. So gotta be sharp for that.
I remember him walking out of the house.
Extracting eyeballs?
Rest for work, so I'm sharp. Because he was extracting eyeballs. So gotta be sharp for
I
that.
remember him walking out of the house.
No. Well, it depends on the shift, no. Because he was working all kinds of hours. Didn't seem odd, no.
Did he give you any emotional message, said that he loves you, besides the text messages or something like that that seemed?
Yeah, and how close were you guys? Did you share a bed?
Well, he said that he made some choices. And he said, you guys don't know anything about it, but, yeah. So, that's what he said. He didn't have much time to live.
Another big ask. Do you mind if I take a picture of the text message?
Nah, I kind of...
Yeah, why can't we see? I want to see the text messages. I think the friend's a little sus. I don't know. Maybe they had some type of... I don't know what's going on. What did he say? I love you, man. Remember that time in the room or something? Like, what was the last message like? I mean, I get he described it to us, but is there more to the last text message? What's going on with that?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I kind of keep that private because I read it to people, and I don't know. I just got to get going. I have to...
Is his phone still ringing when you call?
No, it's...
Go straight to voicemail?
Yeah, just voicemail. I can't... He doesn't want me involved.
Yeah.
So he's not going to call me. He's not going to receive...
It almost seems like some type of relationship or something. Like he's like, like a girlfriend, or like he's not answering, he's not calling me. I mean, I know I'm kind of reaching probably, but
he calls from me.
Can we at least see the text?
Well, everyone's taking pictures. I don't know why I'm so... He sent it to me and a friend. So it wasn't just me, and I don't know if my friend would think about me sharing that with everybody. I mean, I read it out loud just so you guys could get a context of what I feel when I read it. And
Can you read it to us? We were
yeah, I know.
Yeah, read it to us again.
But I gotta get...
Let's line it up and see if it matches what you said yesterday.
Really get going.
Do you have a message for him in case he's watching? He watches. Do you want to send him a message?
Yeah, tell him I love him and he's still my best friend. And
Can anyone not pick up that this man lived different lives? Different
Yeah, for sure.
occupations? This dude
Yeah.
is weird.
Thank you, Richard, for the 10, yeah.
Doesn't kill anybody else. And I hope he...
I'll check.
Surrenders himself for the sake of his family.
I mean, disappointed?
Well, yeah. But, I don't want to see him killed. And, if I'll still visit him in prison, I guess. That's... What else are you going to do? But, I just don't want him to give up on life or kill himself.
Are you concerned he may have already killed him?
Sure.
Yeah.
Should it be considered?
Those weren't that was a text. Yeah.
So he didn't do anything in your interaction with him in the days before this happened?
No, that made me call the police. That made me call the police. Yeah. Well, like we said, we had our separate lives. I worked and he worked, and he was here, and sometimes we'd go down and we'd hang out, but we would never, wasn't, sometimes politics would be on the TV, but he would never really, was never really anything that was in-depth conversation about, just comments,
And just for the record, your name is David Crossing.
Yeah, with a C. Because this is Minnesota, and you guys don't know Carlson? Carlson. Carlson. Norwegian, Swedish. Yeah. But, yeah.
I don't want to take more of your time, so thank you so much.
No problem.
Thanks for entertaining.
I just want you guys to just not say crazy right-winger gone nuts and...
Really?
And, that was all he is, That's, it just bothers me that's his legacy. But I knew him all my life.
Man.
He wasn't that guy, You're gonna kill me.
Wow. Wow.
No, because he was on call for work and he wanted...
Oh, we should hear that.
I want you guys to just not say crazy right-winger gone nuts and that was all he is, That's, it just bothers me that's his legacy. But I knew him all my life. He wasn't that guy, You're gonna kill me.
What did you say? You're gonna kill me? Wow. The childhood friend of the suspected killer. That's something else right there. Wow. I knew it too when I saw him yesterday. He was very, very emotional. I mean, I guess maybe you could just say, oh, that's his best friend or something, but I don't know, man. There's something else there. There's just something else that doesn't sit right with me. Well, in the messages too, the text messages that I understand some things I guess are private, but I feel like there's like something there he just doesn't want them to see. Very interesting. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of it. It seems like he cares about him dearly, his friend, and he doesn't want him to be referred to as a crazy right winger, that he was more than that. Lawmaker assassin. Okay. So I guess we're just waiting for this press conference. I'll see if I can pull up some other videos on this topic.
Dude's crying like his friend still owes him $200.
Yeah, I do find it super. I don't know what to think of it. Senator Tina Smith, Vance Boelter's list. Let's see what she has to say.
We aren't hearing anything about brothers or sisters, so maybe this is the closest thing to a family this guy had.
Could be. Thanks, Thomas, for the super chat. Yeah. Thank you guys. We're about to have 3,000 likes. Appreciate it. Gracias, gracias. I'm trying to post this. Facebook, I'm going to post this. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the follows. Oh yeah, I'm gonna play this video. This lady, let's see what this person is. Supposedly this lady was on the hit list.
Has known Representative Melissa Hortman for a long time, Senator Tina Smith. Senator, I'm so sorry for the loss of your friend and colleague. Just what's going through your mind as you received this news yesterday?
Well, thank you, Leah. I'm so grateful to have a chance to talk a little bit about Melissa because she was such an extraordinary person. I honestly am still having a hard time processing that she is not, that she and Mark are gone. And my heart is so with their children and their whole family. You know, we were all together on Friday night. We have our big Democratic Party dinner on Friday. It was the Humphrey Mondale dinner. And so I saw Melissa and Mark and also Senator Hoffman and his wife Yvette, and we exchanged hugs, and we're so happy to be together. And then to imagine this horror of what unfolded just a few hours later it's hard to grapple with. I'm sure you've had the opportunity to talk to Melissa in your job, and you know her. Everybody knew her to be just smart and strategic and very funny, had a great witty sense of humor. She took her work very seriously, but didn't take herself seriously. And I think that that's one of the reasons why she was such an effective legislator and so respected, not only by Democrats, but also by Republicans. And her loss is just hard to fathom. And to see it happen in this vicious and politically motivated way makes it so hard.
Yes, and I know we have a photo, a beautiful photo of Representative Hortman and her husband Mark at that event on Friday, and that's a tradition. Is that an annual event that folks go to? And like you said, just to think of those were your last words and the last time being in the room with her. Was there anything strange about that night? I mean, security for an event like that has to be massive.
We have very good security for these events. This is an annual dinner. It has well over 1,000 people. It's the Humphrey Mondale dinner, and it is a gathering of organizers and activists and elected leaders and supporters of Democrats all over the state. So people come from, far northern Minnesota and the southeastern and southwestern corners, and it's an opportunity for us all to come together. And there are lots of big political speeches, and it was, of course, for many of us, it was an opportunity to see people. I'm in Washington much of the time, so it was wonderful for me to be able to see Melissa, who had just finished, negotiating with the governor and other legislators. What had been a challenging legislative session, and getting that budget negotiated, she looked relieved and relaxed. And I'm happy to be there with friends and her husband Mark. And you can see in this picture, just like their happiness being together.
Yeah, it is a beautiful photo and smiling, and we're thankful that the folks at the DFL party were able to share this photo with us. As this unfolded yesterday, we spoke with some lawmakers who, you know, I know you can only say so much and want to keep everyone safe, but, you know, law enforcement being sent to state lawmakers' homes to watch guard over all of you. Can you talk to us a little bit about how this has unfolded as we were receiving, you know, what little information the law enforcement and investigators could safely give us, but from, you know, a safety standpoint for you and your family and other lawmakers, how this has unfolded this weekend?
Well, I first heard about this tragedy first thing yesterday morning when I woke up at around 7:15, and I heard about the shooting. We did protection from, just say that the response of law enforcement, Minneapolis Police Department, Hennepin County, quick response.
This list by this suspect, does that change anything moving forward? I know you're already, and you and other lawmakers are already so careful in how, you know, you're going to a press event and the timing of when you share where your location and when those things are going to take place, but you're a public figure. How will this change things moving forward?
Well, we are assessing that right now. It's hard to know for sure. It's horrible for me to think that my ability to move around the state, to be with my constituents and to do the things that I would normally do as a senator. I'm just a normal human being who goes to the grocery store and goes to have dinner with my kids and works in the backyard in my garden, that somehow that would be circumscribed, or I wouldn't have the same freedom and flexibility. Of course, it's important also that I stay safe, and I think not only of myself but of all of the other people who, you know, make the commitment and also the sacrifice to serve in public life. So we are still just figuring this out, but I hope that this will be a tipping point where we can understand that we need to step away from this violence and this idea that we resolve in this country our differences not through violence but through talk and through legislation and through the way that we govern ourselves, and not through taking the law into our own hands in such a violent and terrible way.
Yes, and we know it must be a scary thought to know that.
All right, that was somebody on the list. I thought they'd offer maybe a little more insight or something, but not really much. This lady here's a resident.
It's a little more nerve-wracking for sure, but
resident where the car was found.
We'll just keep an eye out and make sure not to open the doors for anybody who doesn't look like they belong in the neighborhood. We don't know him for sure. He's not around this neighborhood, so we don't know who he is. Well, I'm hoping he's caught, but hoping he's caught and put away.
Are you surprised that he would try to go home after doing something like that, allegedly?
Yes, I
There are
would.
way too many
But
coincidences.
then I would think
Why
that
did his
maybe he
friend
has friends
say he's
around the
gonna kill
area
me?
that might help him.
There is a lot more to
so
all of this for sure.
I would be surprised if he came back here, but
Yeah, I don't know. Thank you, Stefabu, for the super chat. There's too many coincidences. Why did his friend say he's going to kill me? There's a lot more to all this for sure. I don't know if he said like, yo, I was trying to hear what he said. I don't know if he said y'all are killing me or you're going to kill me. I don't know what he said there. All right, waiting on the presser. Let's see what else we got. Oh,
impressive leader. And, you know, I thought that before today.
Meanwhile, in the Senate, John Hoffman's colleagues are praying for he and his wife's recovery.
John is probably the most gregarious colleague of ours.
Republican Senator Zach Duckworth credits Hoffman for his important work as chair of the Human Services Committee.
Trying to help our most vulnerable Minnesotans, and he's got a track record of doing that for decades.
Crazy.
Just a very kind man.
On the night of the special session, Hoffman talked about working with Republicans on the budget.
We left our egos in the hallway and was really looking at what's our purpose, what's our intent, right? If we're going to preserve the services and supports for people.
Reflecting on the budget herself just a few days ago at an interview in her office.
It was really a big win for the people in Minnesota.
Representative Hortman also praised the legislature's bipartisanship and promised Minnesotans more of the same in years ahead.
They expect their government to work, and it is going to do that for them.
Hortman worked side by side with Republican Speaker Lisa Demuth all session. And today, Demuth said in a statement that she is devastated by the loss and that Hortman was respected by everybody at the Capitol. Danny Spiewak, KARE 11 News.
Just shocking and heartbreaking on so many levels. And again, they are still searching for that suspect, 57-year-old Vance Boelter, who they found a car that they said he had been driving on Highway 25. Let's put up a map of that area that they've been searching. Law enforcement's been out there searching for at least 10 hours now. Around 6 o'clock this morning, we know through dispatch audio that they found what they thought was the subject's car on the highway there, and they've been searching ever since. A massive amount of law enforcement in that area right now.
And this is the location where our reporters have been live all day. It's right where you see the 25 there, just a little bit to the west of that. It's about 5 miles from Green Isle, about 6 miles from Belle Plaine. This is where early this morning the discovery was made of the Buick that was believed to be driven by Vance Boelter, and the cowboy hat, which appears to be, there's no reason to believe it wasn't, the hat that we saw in surveillance video yesterday.
Joe McCoy's been on that scene since this morning as well. In fact, took that picture that's now made its way all around social media of the cowboy hat on the side of Highway 25, about 200 yards from the car. Joe, what updates do you have for us tonight?
Julie, the Sibley County Sheriff just confirmed to NBC News that they have not found Vance Boelter yet. He also confirmed to NBC News that that black Buick that was towed away and that was on this property did belong to Boelter. I want to play that sound right away for you all.
Well, finding a car that we believe was associated with him and a hat that he probably was wearing logically, you know, makes you think that at least he was in the area this morning. We have no more information since then to tell us if he's still in the area. That's been probably 10 plus hours since that was located. So we don't know where he is. We have continued our search of the area and kind of expanded it out to different areas where it potentially makes sense to look for him. We have not found him. Our investigation is continuing. We're going to continue to search for him, and as long as we need to, as long as we believe that there's reason that he might be in the area.
So there's the latest update from the Sibley County Sheriff. This is as this scene has been developing throughout the entire day. My photographer and I have been on scene since about 8:45. It's to our knowledge. Law enforcement got here around 6 or 7 o'clock when they initially found that black Buick and that cowboy hat on the side of the road. And I know that our other journalist, Ian Russell, and his photographer, David Peterlins, have been on scenes as law enforcement has been going house to house and has been searching throughout Green Isle. I believe, Julie, you know, from what we've heard from neighbors who've said this scene has been unprecedented. They're shocked by what's going on, but also that they were scared last evening that Vance Boelter was on the run. I'm assuming that update, Julie, is not going to do anything to calm down any of their fears, because the Sibley County Sheriff confirming that they are still looking through Green Isle for Vance Boelter, and he said they're going to look in Green Isle until there's no reason to believe that he is not here. So,
I mean, is he surviving in the woods, or is he hiding with somebody? Does he have another property? You know, some homemade built shack in the woods or something? Here's another clip. Let me show you guys this. Nick sort of just posted this. Just in, Minnesota officials once again refused to release the Assassin's manifesto, saying there's not enough there. Then just release it, let the people decide. Let's take a quick look.
I'm going to give Ellen, we're going to give it to Ellen, and then we're going to have one more question.
Can you talk a little bit more about the manifesto and what kind of motivation it might be doing? We're told that there might be some pro-choice lawmakers on this manifesto, and that has anything to do with the motivations here?
At this point in time, it'd be premature. The question was, is the manifesto and the information that we have received, is their motivations? We are working diligently on that. There's certainly some indications within that, but there's not specifics enough. We have been, this is a very active and fluid investigation. Throughout the day, as you've been waiting, and these teams have been out working out in the field, and they have been gathering more documents and information, so it would be premature for me at this point to really say exactly what the motivation might be from these writings, but we will be continuing to work on that and provide that information when we're able.
Okay, so they're not releasing the manifesto yet, refusing to. And also, here's something interesting. So not only was there flyers that this guy had of the No Kings, they're also saying he had stickers. No flyer sticker. This one says inside, but somebody said he had it on his car.
SWAT unit. We saw multiple canine units, including one from the city of Eagan. We saw an ambulance that arrived on scene. We saw the Burnsville Command Center. We saw the Bloomington Bomb Squad that was on scene, and then they left the scene. So that just shows the scope of this investigation. That, of course, doesn't even include State Patrol and the Sibley County Sheriff's Office. You know, we are in Sibley County right now, as Lou mentioned, between Green Isle and Belle Plaine. So it's just an extensive amount of agencies working together to try to find Vance Boelter and put this community that is on edge right now, give them the ability to relax a little bit, knowing that Vance Boelter is no longer on the run, which currently the Sibley County Sheriff just confirmed they believe he still is on the run.
All right, Joe, you've been doing a great job for us. We really appreciate all of your insight and reporting this morning. We are going to give you one more look at the tip line. If anyone has any information on Vance Boelter, where he might be, who he might be connected to, or any information on this case, you're asked to please call that number on your screen, or you can email the BCA. They appear to be the lead agency in this investigation, which of course also does involve federal agencies as well. That's a good look at what Vance looks like. This picture, we understand, was taken presumably outside a bank in Minneapolis after the shootings, where he went to go get some cash and clearly went on the run. So we are going to keep monitoring the situation. We know there's a press conference coming up at 5:30 with officials with the very latest information. Right now, we're going to go to Jamie in the backyard to give you a look at your forecast. Jamie?
All right.
They're focused on the weather report. I was sent an article that who sent it to me? Talk about. Oh, I haven't seen this yet. Minnesota assassination suspect Vance Boelter describes his background in undated video. Oh, snap. All right, let's check this out. I haven't seen this yet. Thank you for sending me that. I got that via email. Hannah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Vance Boelter. I just go by Vance. No other names that I use. I live in Green Isle, Minnesota, about an hour away from the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. I'm affiliated with two. Hello, my name is Vance Boelter. I just go by Vance. No other names that I use. I live in Green Isle, Minnesota, about an hour away from the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. I'm affiliated with two funeral homes. I work full-time for Wolf Funeral Home, which is an intake location for about 6 funeral homes. And we also do all the intake for the National Cremation Society and the Neptune Society for all their cremation customers as well. So I mainly do removals at this point. So I work at Wolf full-time, and then I also work for another funeral home called Metro First Call, and they also do traditional removals at nursing homes, assisted living apartments, but they also have contracts with medical examiner's office. So like one contract is the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office, so we'll do removals, which we're working with a lot of police officers and death investigators at the location where a decedent is found. Could be a crime scene or just a natural death. And our role is to just take the decedent from that place of death to the.
That's what I guess that's what the roommate meant, right? The roommate said something about taking out eyeballs. He takes out eyeballs. That must be what he meant, I guess.
The medical examiner's office. And so between those two locations, I'm working about 6 days a week. What else here? Family and pets. I have a wife and 5 kids, and we have 2 pets, German Shepherds. Fun fact about myself, I've been in the food industry about 30 years, and that led to an opportunity. I was invited to the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is located in Central Africa. When I was in high school, the country was called Zaire. That's a little bit more familiar with people, but it's the largest, second largest country in Africa, right in the middle in the center there, and was asked a couple years ago to go and see what I could do for ideas in helping their food supply system. Their population is about 100 million people, and they import 80% of their food currently. So some of the food companies I worked for in the past were Farm to Fork, like Del Monte Foods and Golden Plump Poultry, where we did everything from, at Del Monte, we planted the products to harvested them to process them and then shipped them out. In Golden Plump Poultry, we had our own hatcheries, grow-out barns with the farmers, and then processing plants. So between those two companies, I have some experience with agriculture. And so over in the Democratic Republic of Congo, I had some ideas they thought were pretty promising, which the company I was working for at the time wasn't interested in doing anything in Africa. So I talked with my wife, and we decided I just put in my 2-week notice, and we just go off on our own to try to do these projects to help out in Africa. So we're doing farming and fishing projects in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And to help pay the bills, I just started working at a funeral home because the shift worked good for my schedule with the other things I was doing. And that led to some classes at DMAC, which led to this course. So just learning more about the funeral industry. And I think that covers everything. And I will look forward to seeing you in class, and we'll go from there.
What the hell was that? What in the heck? So they said, describing his background in an undated video. That's so weird. I don't know where they found that from. Interesting. Is that, yeah, I don't know. Is that an interview video? He was sending it out for a job thing or some type of resume video? How do you go off the bandwagon like that at that age?
That black Buick and that cowboy hat, that picture of the cowboy hat that I was able to take at 8:45 this morning. When my photographer and I first arrived on scene, we took the picture of that cowboy hat, and then about 15 minutes later, we were told to back up by State Patrol, and that is why we now have this perimeter here that is 1 mile in each direction, as there has been an incredibly large police presence near a property down there, that property right next to that cowboy hat and that black Buick that was found by police. We believe to be that car and that hat was found this morning, Julie.
Well, finding a car that we believe was associated with him and a hat that he probably was wearing logically, you know, makes you think that at least he was in the area this morning. We have no more information since then to tell us if he's still in the area. That's been probably 10 plus hours since that was located. So we don't know where he is. We have continued our search of the area and kind of expanded it out to different areas where it potentially makes sense to look for him. We have not found him.
That was interesting.
Our investigation is continuing. We're going to continue to search for him, and as long as we need to, as long as we believe that there's reason that he might be in the area.
Now, we have been talking with neighbors and with onlookers here about their reaction to what has been going on all day. First, Julie, they said they were in disbelief.
There's another video. There's another video of Vance. Let's check this out now. So this video says, another video, it says, here's a video of the alleged assassin Vance Luther Boelter losing his mind over people in America who don't know what sex they are. This clip is from a YouTube video uploaded in 2023 when he was in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Update, it's not been reported that Boelter registered to vote as a Republican sometime in the early 2000s. Okay. Let's see this video. I haven't seen it yet.
No sin, et il n'y a aucun péché that God can't take care of. Dieu ne peut pas enlever. Nothing. Il n'y a rien. There's people, especially in America, y a des gens, particulièrement aux États-Unis, they don't know what sex they are. They don't know how their sexual orientation. They're confused. Ils ne savent pas ce qu'ils sont exactement. Ils ont une confusion. The enemy has gotten so far into their mind and their soul. Et l'ennemi est entré dans le fond de leur pensée, de leur âme. But this word, mais cette parole, cuts deeper. Va aux profondeurs. Because it's living. Parce qu'elle est vivante. And it's active. Et elle est agissante. And God goes down there and pulls that out. Et elle peut entrer dans notre cœur et enlever tout ce qui est de mal. And he sets every person free. Et pouvoir nous libérer. There shouldn't be one person in this room. Il doit y avoir quelqu'un dans cette salle that leaves tonight qui est en train de vivre le péché with a sin or a problem you're dealing with in your heart and soul. Peut-être que tu as un problème qui est vraiment dans ton cœur qui te fait souffrir. Because Jesus has the answer. Parce que Jésus-Christ a la réponse. But he may ask a question. Mais il va te poser une question. The Holy Spirit may come to you. Le Saint-Esprit peut venir vers toi. He may come to a man. Il peut venir vers un homme. And say, who's that woman? Et puis il va demander, qui es-tu? Or he may come to a woman. Il peut venir à une femme. And say, who's that man? Il peut demander à la femme, qui est cet homme? Il demande à l'homme, qui est cette femme? He already knows. Dieu connaît déjà. Or he may say, where are you? Il peut te demander, où es-tu? And when God asks a question, mais quand Dieu pose cette question, we need to answer. Nous avons besoin de répondre. And if I'm that man that's doing something with a woman, même si c'est que tu as fait avec un homme ou une femme, and the word of God comes to me, et la parole de Dieu vient vers moi, I can be like Cain. Je ne peux pas être comme Caïn. And say, I don't know, I don't know. Et dire au Seigneur, je ne sais pas, je ne sais pas. But then that's what I get. That's what I deserve if I don't acknowledge God. Si je ne reconnais pas Dieu, c'est ce que je mérite. But God doesn't ask the question. Mais Dieu est en train de lui poser une question. Because he wants to hurt our feelings.
Wow. Shot. What's the, you know what the lady I thought about? Akacha. What's that lady? Acha. I forgot that. I don't remember that clip was. Oh, this lady.
Strike and strike. And strike 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 until you have victory. For every enemy that is aligned against you, let there be that we would strike the ground, for you will give rain. I hear a sound of an abundant victory. Angels are back from Africa, America. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. I hear the sound of victory. I hear the sound of victory.
Hey, man. Remember me of that lady. Yeah, I don't know. Weird video. We got more people driving down. Lord help us. Lord. Rescue, police rescue. Alta. Oh, make sure you guys subscribe to my second page, please, if you wouldn't mind. iCkEdMeL clips. I'm posting clips there, new stories, and all that stuff. Ataya. Florida car. Look, the white SUV. I hope it doesn't have any ties to Florida. It's not the Paso, the Vance. Got 20 minutes. 20 minutes until the press conference. Let's see what they have for us.
If you have it ready.
I'll see what else I can find too.
Flashing, came out of the house dressed as a police officer, all the way down to a protective vest with things on it like a taser. Shot at the officer, then escaped through the house. At that point, they
That's
didn't know.
crazy. Hold on, I gotta rewind that real quick.
Received at the first shooting site, but they knew for sure that this was somebody impersonating a police officer. He had a vehicle that was a former actual law enforcement vehicle with the lights on top of it, pulled right up to the house with those lights flashing, came out of the house dressed as a police officer, all the way down to a protective vest with things on it like a taser. Shot at the officer, then escaped through the house. At that point, they didn't know yet who they were dealing with, but they eventually were able to, they believe that they were dealing with somebody named Vance Boelter.
And that car was likely some valuable evidence that was left behind at the scene.
Within that vehicle, there was what they called at first a manifesto. It's maybe more accurately a list of names, up to 70 names of various Democratic politicians and abortion providers, which apparently was a hit list of sorts of people
Abortion
that he intended
providers.
to harm or kill.
And when people have been speculating about what the motivations might be, that appears to be the direction that law enforcement's going in. This had to do with someone that was very strongly pro-life, as they say, someone that was anti-abortion.
That's the best clue so far as what his viewpoints were personally. Also within the vehicle, there were a number of flyers that said "No Kings" on it. That appeared to be in reference to the large-scale protest that was planned yesterday outside the state capitol, protesting Donald Trump administration. And so it's unclear exactly what the meaning of that, but that was in the vehicle as well.
And so we know he left that house and did not have access to a vehicle because the police had towed it away. We saw footage yesterday of them towing that vehicle away that looked remarkably like a police car. But you did the math, because we know the next point of contact, we believe, was had in North Minneapolis at about 6 a.m.
Yes.
And one could walk that distance in that amount of time.
It was about 7 miles, which would take about 2.5 hours for an average person to walk. And if it was about 3:30 that he was in Brooklyn Park, that is about right for him to walk to North Minneapolis, where one of his roommates at this, what I call a crash pad, a place that he occasionally stayed with one of his good friends when he would work in the Twin Cities. That's where they said that he was at about 6 a.m. And shortly after that, he was known to be driving a Buick. And that is connected to the Buick that we know has been confirmed to be towed away. And he was seen in a complete change of clothes, withdrawing money at a bank.
In that cowboy hat.
That's where the cowboy hat photo comes into play. That hat was found nearby the Buick you're looking at right now, back in Sibley County, about 5 miles away from his home in Green Isle. Now, in between all of there, they figured out who he was. They need to contact people that he's related to and people that know him to learn more. They made contact with his wife, Jenny, and were able to make a traffic stop or stop her at a gas station in Onamia to be able to search the vehicle that she was in and talk to her. And so part of the investigation, of course, is whether anybody helped him or aided him in any way, whether anyone knew what he was planning on doing, or whether anyone received information from him afterwards.
Yeah, if anyone has any idea where he is right now. All right, so that's where this investigation stands. In about 15 minutes, we're going to go live to the command center, where we're told there will be a press conference from officials. For right now, we're going to take a quick break and get a look at the forecast.
Talk about that. The weather. And I hope you guys are having a good day. Good day. Just waiting for the press conference to see if they have new information, what they release. And then we'll chill after that. Enjoy the day.
I feel like that preaching video made it pretty apparent. Doubt you'll find a liberal preaching at a church about how trans people are confused.
Yeah, that video. Yeah, for sure. I agree. It's too bad we don't have a. It's a pretty. If he did have some change, that's a pretty extreme way to change. So I don't know how far that video goes back, but it looks like maybe he was in the Congo at the time. He said he was in the Congo, Democrat, whatever they call it, in the Congo. So if he was right, maybe he was doing a psyop. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. They're saying here, screenshots from the suspected Minnesota attacker Vance, public LinkedIn before it was taken down. Fourth image shows he did indeed volunteer at the governor's workforce development board. It's weird to me, though, if he was right and he felt very strongly, how he could go work for Tim Vance. Unless he just felt money's money, you know, whatever. Red Line Group, Cardinal Stritch University. Hi everyone, I'm looking to get back into the U.S. food industry, and I'm pretty open to positions. Other leadership positions outside of the food industry I'm willing to hear about as well. I've been doing projects in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Central Africa the last 3 years with the Red Line Group. If you hear any opportunities or just want to catch up, please send me a message. What I'm looking for Director of Operations, Vice President, General Manager, and President roles. I'm looking for roles in Texas, Minnesota, Florida. No, not Florida, man. Oh my God. And Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, ideally, but would look at other locations if I felt it was a good fit. Thanks, I hope you all well. So he went from 7-Eleven to, oh, he said it was his general manager at 7-Eleven. April 2016 to April 2021. 5 years at 7-Eleven. Before that, general manager at Green Corps. It's Green Corps. Happy Pride. Hold up. What's that? Let's see what that is. There's one for food manufacturer and there's one for core lawn aeration. They produce prepackaged meals and snacks for retailers, food service operators. Oh, the Happy Pride was just the company's icon, though. It's not him. Okay. Del Monte Production System Manager. And the last here, it said, well, it says CEO of Red Line Group. It's security and development in Africa. Boelter claimed to be the CEO based in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He said the group focused on crypto industrial development and security, including agriculture, fishing, media, and motorcycle taxis in Africa. Boelter gave a talk via Minnesota Africans United seminar supporting DRC farming pilots in rural female-led transport programs. Minnesota Africans United clarified he worked for them informally and he was never officially
Thanks for
on staff,
covering this, iCkEdMeL.
Thank you. So over here, he's saying this, he's the CEO of this Red Line Group, but the group, Africans United, clarified that he worked with them informally. It was never officially on staff. Oh, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Okay. Vice chair equals employment for people with disabilities. Governor's Workforce Development Board in Minnesota. We don't know that guy. He said he's the CEO of the company. Don't even know him. Well, they said informally. He came in and said hi. You know, you ever seen that Seinfeld episode where, is it Kramer or George? I think they've both had episodes where they worked at an office job they weren't even really working at. They just showed up in a suit one day and walked into one of the offices and worked there for like a month or something.
Wake up to that news yesterday, and you know, we have so much work to do in this country to tone down the rhetoric, to get back to people working together.
That's the head of the DNC, and he was for a long time the leader of the DFL here in Minnesota, Ken Martin. Well, President Trump spoke briefly about yesterday's shooting, calling the incident absolutely terrible.
Mr. President.
reporting on the shootings in Minneapolis?
Absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. And they're looking for that particular man right now. Thank you.
Well, the president was not the only one speaking out today. Former Vice President Mike Pence spoke this morning on his concerns about the growing amount of political violence across the country.
We saw 2 assassination attempts against President Trump on the campaign trail. We saw the governor of Pennsylvania's home attacked, and then that despicable attack that claimed the lives of the Minnesota state representative Hortman, her husband, and injured 2 of her colleagues. Our prayers are with them, but this is a moment when we need to make it very clear that anyone who would ever use violence, whether it be against law enforcement or political violence of any kind, must be condemned universally, and people need to be held to the strictest account of the law.
Well, this morning on NBC's Meet the Press, Senator Amy Klobuchar talked about the manifesto that authorities say they found in the suspect's car.
Clearly, this is politically motivated. Our delegation in Minnesota, from the most conservative Republican to the most liberal Democrat, we all joined together, Senator Emmer and I and others, and said we condemn this political violence. It was politically motivated, and there clearly was some through line with abortion because of the groups that were on the list and other things that I've heard were in this manifesto. So that was one of his motivations. But again, they're also checking out, did he have interaction somehow with these 2 legislators? Is there more to this? And I think for us right now, it's allowing law enforcement to do their jobs instead of speculating on every angle of where he might have gone. They obviously have information we don't have. And so what we've been trying to do as political leaders is make really clear we will have plenty of time to analyze what happened here, but right now it is trying to report any sighting of this person and to be very careful and to listen to what law enforcement says, because the advice has changed for obvious reasons over time, and that is what we've got to do right now.
Well, here at home, Danny Spiewak spoke with members of both our state legislature and members of our congressional delegation as they were reeling from this weekend's news.
There is a deep sense of pain in the Minnesota legislature right now. Just days after finishing their budget, lawmakers are grieving the loss of one of their most established members and waiting anxiously for updates on a beloved state senator. In the most narrowly divided legislature in Minnesota history, Representative Melissa Hortman played a key role in delivering a state budget this session.
I think that there's a lot for Minnesotans to be pleased about.
As leader of the DFL caucus in the tied House, Hortman negotiated across the aisle with GOP Speaker Lisa Damuth to find compromise.
She had grace. She was someone that was just a decent person.
It's really weird. It's really weird that this guy, I don't know what to think, because I don't know what could have been placed there by this guy to throw people off and what's really real. You know, the way he left his hat, as somebody mentioned earlier, intentional, like right there on the road, you know, for everybody to see, and his car was not too far off. And the vehicle with all this stuff inside of it, the guns, the cash, the ammo, and then the flyers there, and just leave his list behind. Like, he wanted that list to be found, you know? If he was planning to continue to kill those people, why would he leave that list there for them to obviously find? It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, why leave that list there if you're planning to continue to kill? And all these, the clinics and all these places, I don't know, man.
An efficient, undeniably impressive leader. And, I thought that before today.
Meanwhile, in the Senate, John Hoffman's colleagues are praying for he and his wife's recovery.
John is probably the most gregarious colleague of ours.
Republican Senator Zach Duckworth credits Hoffman for his important work as chair of the Human Services Committee.
Trying to help our most vulnerable Minnesotans, and he's got a track record of doing that for decades. Just a very kind man.
On the night of the special session, Hoffman talked about working with Republicans on the budget.
We left our egos in the hallway and was really looking at what's our purpose, what's our intent, right? If we're going to preserve the services and supports for people.
Reflecting on the budget herself just a few days ago at an interview in her office,
It was really a big win for the people of Minnesota.
Representative Hortman also praised the legislature's bipartisanship and promised Minnesotans more of the same in years ahead.
They expect their government to work, and it is going to do that for them.
Hortman worked side by side with Republican Speaker Lisa Demuth all session. And today, Demuth said in a statement that she is devastated by the loss and that Hortman was respected by everybody at the Capitol. Danny Spiewak, KARE 11 News.
We'll continue our coverage of the manhunt for the suspected shooter in a moment, but we wanted to stop down and get your full 7-day forecast from Jamie Cagle. We understand that coming up tomorrow, we have a weather impact alert, might be getting some rain and other fun surprises tomorrow. Jamie?
Yeah, let's hope the surprises are to a minimum when we talk about the weather tomorrow, because it is looking like we will have some very strong storms tapping into this heat and humidity you can feel building right now.
Okay, so we got the presser about to start in a couple minutes. Let's see what they have to say, and I'm also curious for the Q&A. What questions do they want to ask? When will they release this manifesto? Will they even release it? Oh, apparently real quick. This was kind of interesting. Remember the plane crash that we talked about the other day and the one survivor that just walked away with some scratches from India? They had played. That's crazy. He was sitting in 11A. Well, apparently there was this singer, Thai singer, who survived the plane crash 27 years ago. He sat in a seat 11A, the same as the survivor. 11A might be the lucky number, man. I'm about to start booking my flights with 11A. I gotta remember that next time I fly. It's accurate too. They verified it. Yeah. Crazy. 11A seat prices going up. They could charge special prices for that. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe they'll upcharge this shit. About to upgrade. That seat's always going to be sold out on the flights now. If I'm flying with somebody, they can take the seat next to me, but I'll take 11A. Achika.
That's just into our newsroom of law enforcement going through the fields and through homes in that area to try to figure out where this 57-year-old Vance Boelter might be. And you can see there's still a lot of tactical units. We know several law enforcement agencies had responded to this, and there are obviously, as you can see, canine units involved as well. We know there have been Bearcats. Bearcats particularly useful when they know someone could be capable of firing upon law enforcement officers. Those vehicles would protect law enforcement for any gunfire coming their way. This man already has engaged with officers in Brooklyn Park when they came upon him at Representative Hortman's home. Looks like a very active scene, but Lou, we don't know if this means that they found something new or they're simply keep moving the search through different areas of that region near Green Isle.
The discovery of the vehicle and the cowboy hat this morning was the biggest development in several hours, and that's why all those different law enforcement agencies rushed down there. But there still are all these unanswered questions now. Like this means that he most likely was there at some point overnight before 6 a.m. when it was discovered. What time was he there? Is he still there? Is a question. Is there any evidence that he has left that area? Is he still alive? That's another key question. Is he receiving help from anyone? That's a question as well. You know, when these kind of searches occur in cities, they rely a lot on doorbell cameras and stuff like that. Maybe not as many of them in rural areas, but a lot of people out in these areas do have trail cameras. And so there's a possibility of some imagery that that might be able to help the investigation. But it's difficult because each of these farmsteads include a grove of trees and a very dangerous situation for law enforcement to step into, not knowing if this guy is lying in wait.
Exactly. And a lot of homes, we know they're going door to door and they are searching people's homes in Green Isle. And in these areas, you have a lot of sheds and a lot of outbuildings and barns and things that they're going to need to go through methodically to see if they can find him or any evidence that he'd been there. And you really feel for law enforcement because this isn't like searching for a missing person, as you pointed out earlier. It's a very dangerous situation for them as they search for him.
Yeah, they have to be much more meticulous. You know, another question that came up is, so when his vehicle got left behind in Brooklyn Center, he did have firearms in that vehicle. We don't know what he still had on him. And what he might have had access to after he left that scene. So he's obviously presumed to be armed and dangerous, but we just don't know exactly what the situation is that these law enforcement officials are walking into. So we don't know what kind of intel they have. We don't know some of the things that neighbors might have shared with them that they've seen that we haven't been told.
Exactly.
And so at this point, we can only hope that they have some additional intel that we don't know about yet, and that they're closer to finding him than it appears just from the video we've been seeing.
And again, this press conference that they're about to hold here, it's
all right. So we're waiting. Amazing. Almost have 4,000 likes. Thank you, guys. You think he offed himself? Kathy says thinks he offed himself. Walter White mask. He dressed as a tree.
I'm assuming they have to go on the presumption that he does. And they're also, we understand, wanting to address the public because There are so many people that are on edge. This is clearly a dangerous man. Our Joe McCoy has been in the area all morning and has talked to neighbors who said they had a very restless night last night, as you can imagine, knowing that this man owns a home in Green Isle, which is only about 600 people, and knowing that he was still on the loose made for a very worrying night for a lot of the people who live there. At this point, they still haven't found him, so that
potentially
continues
even worse
for
now because they have confirmation that he returned.
Correct.
So last night they were afraid that he might return. Well, he did.
And there was word last night. We know they put out a request to South Dakota authorities to be on the lookout. So there was some thought, and they had said even in a press conference, we believe he's trying to leave the area. So you're right, Lou, to realize that he did not really leave the area and his car was here is incredibly concerning. Not to mention all of our elected officials. Lou had found through sources there were 70-some names of lawmakers on that list, both past and present. And so that's a big job for lawmakers or law enforcement as well, to try to keep our elected officials safe as this man remains on the run. And you can see they're putting all of the resources they have that they possibly can toward finding him.
Yeah, so we're hoping that at this press conference, we're told that they might address some misinformation that's out there, but we're hoping that they'll be able to answer some questions and maybe, if they can, put some
emergency press conference. We have to address misinformation. So let's see. Breaking emergency, hot off the presses. Stop what you're doing. Father's Day special.
So? We're almost there. I know. They can trust me this time. Minutes? Minutes. Just a real quick reminder while we're waiting there is you've got the list, you've got the spellings of the names, you've got the titles, you've got to speak in order. Real quick reminder when it comes to the question and answer period, some of you have heard this now 3 times already here. But on your first question, please introduce yourself and your media organization. After that, questions after that, you don't have to. But your first question, please do introduce yourself and your media organization. I will also make sure and ask for our online audiences, I will also make sure and ask the speakers to repeat the question. That is your chance to make sure, that is your chance also to make sure that your question was understood correctly. Make sense? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Minneapolis, and of course, search of that vehicle. It's presumably ongoing right now. There's also always a lot of digital searches that go on. We know that, I know through sources that he sent text messages to his wife. And so what device were those sent from?
To the wife?
Can it be tracked in any sort of ways or any sort of digital?
The roommate's not going to be happy about that. Well, you were messaging your wife, but you didn't message me again. You only told me goodbye. The roommate's pissed off. He's not answering his calls and stuff.
They can glean some sort of digital location data. Another thing that they look into is credit cards and stuff like that to see if they're spending money. And so, they just need to see that there's activity, whether it's location activity or financial
Happy Father's
activity.
Day, Mel. Thanks for all you do.
All right, we're going to head out.
Heart suit, heart suit.
Thank you so much, Highness. Thank you for the 10. All right, press conference time.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bob Jacobson. I'm the Commissioner of Public Safety, and it's my honor to be with you again today on this continuing investigation. First of all, I want to thank our law enforcement partners who are continuing to investigate and search for our suspect in this case. We appreciate all the time that they're taking away, including today on Father's Day, as they're trying to, again, get to a successful conclusion. I also want to thank the public for listening to what we're putting out there for information, assisting us in any way that they can in locating our suspect. We appreciate that very much, and their help is always, of course, appreciated. Today we'll have some speakers to present some information and updates on what's going on with our investigation. So as we get through our speakers, after we're all done, there'll be an opportunity to ask some questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Ryan Sabas. Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming.
It's in moments like this that we search for answers to something that defies understanding. A senseless and tragic act that has shaken us all. But in our darkest hours, we're reminded of the strength and resilience of community. We come together not only to grieve, but to stand strong. And together, we will rise. The heinous act should never have happened. Speaker Emeritus Melissa Hortman and Senator John Hoffman are not just public servants. They are remarkable individuals who have devoted their lives to serving others. Every person deserves to feel safe in their home, including those that are elected to lead us. We have the full confidence in our justice system and the professionals working tirelessly to bring individuals responsible to justice. The Champlin Police Department, the Brooklyn Park Police Department, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, and the FBI, all working closely in coordination on this ongoing and active investigation. We are anxiously awaiting news of justice, and we will not rest until that happens. If you have any information, please contact the tip line at bca.tips@state.mn.us or call 877-996-6222 or your local police department. Your voice could make the difference. Now more than ever, we must truly focus on what matters. Beneath all of our differences, political, personal, or otherwise, we are all human beings, and every human life has a value. Let us move forward with compassion, unity, and a fierce resolve for care for one another. While this tragedy has deeply impacted our cities, the people of Champlin, Brooklyn Park, and the greater Minnesota community are strong. We support those who are grieving, we honor those that we have lost, and we stand beside those that are still fighting. Champlin, Brooklyn Park, surrounding areas, stay strong, show love, show respect, be kind, and never forget the strength that we hold when we stand together. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Winston. Thank you.
Hi, so Mayor Winston of the city of Brooklyn Park. As I've said before, prayers and support go out to the families of the Hoffmans and the Hortmans. I know that our cities, Champlin, and Brooklyn Park are going through a fair amount of grief. But in reality, there's no distance between Brooklyn Park and Champlin Park in terms of supporting the families. Because of this, we know that Speaker Hortman, beyond her legislative impact, has had such an impact on unifying our communities and bringing them together. And even in a personal level, she's been dedicated to helping youth when nobody was looking. And when we look at Senator Hoffman earlier today, I was at a prayer vigil for him. And we were talking about how are we going to support the family and come together. When we realized that the number of families that we're going to have to reach out to and the communities we're going to have to reach out to bring everyone together, he's just had such an outsized impact. It's going to be a fair amount of work to properly support and honor him. Because of that, we're really supporting law enforcement in this, and we want to thank law enforcement for the pursuit of justice. So when we talk about Governor Walz and Commissioner Jacobson and the resources they made available immediately to our resources at the federal level, the support that we're getting there, county, regional, local, and of course, Brooklyn Park. I think the work that was done there saved a number of lives. And again, they're committed to justice. And to assist them, we're asking, I think it was said earlier, we asked folks if they have information, please reach out to a tip line. And also, please, if you're looking for information, track real points of information, directly contact or look at information from law enforcement sources. Avoid not sharing or sharing misinformation. And then also let's realize it's a time for calming words and influence. We are one community, so we very much need to come together on this and support one another. Again, there is some healing that needs to be done here, and we really want to support the families. Again, prayers go out to the families of the Hortmans and the Hoffmans. So thank you, everybody, for your support, and thank you for support not just for within Brooklyn Park or Champlin, but also thank you for support from across the country and through greater Minnesota.
Thank you, Mayor, and mayors and commissioner, and for everybody. I am Drew Evans, the superintendent of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. I want to provide you a little bit of an update on what we've been working on today and where we are continuing to go. Law enforcement continues to work in partnership to locate and take into custody Vance Boelter in relation to these murders and attempted murders. There's a nationwide warrant for his arrest for the murders and attempted murders in this case at the state level, and there's also then a federal warrant for the same crime, or for him as well, for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. That's through the coordination that's been done with the Hennepin County Attorney's Office and the United States Attorney's Office for that. And so he is wanted on those across the United States. He is not in custody at this time. This remains a very active investigation. We continue to conduct interviews on the investigative piece, not only to learn his whereabouts, but also to follow up on the case and gather the information as part of these the prosecution related to him. As you may have noted today, and I know you've been around and the sheriff provided some updates, there is information that led us to do the searches that continue in Sibley County in that area. Those teams will continue to be active until they feel that they have done a thorough and complete search in that area for him. I want to reiterate for everybody, if you know anything about his whereabouts, or if you spot anything suspicious or may have been suspicious in the last 24 hours, anywhere, but certainly down in that area, to please contact law enforcement, either your local law enforcement and through our tip line. I also want to remind everybody that there's a $50,000 reward offered by the FBI in this particular case. That reward is leading to the capture of him related to this, and that is offered by the FBI. The teams that continue to work on this is over 100 law enforcement officers and numerous SWAT teams that are in that area searching for him. The BCA is working in partnership on this investigation with the Brooklyn Park Police Department, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, FBI, ATF, United States Marshal Service, Sibley County Sheriff's Office, and then numerous other agencies such as the State Patrol and other sheriff's offices from across the state of Minnesota and local law enforcement. This is of the utmost priority, and that is why you're seeing teams from the Twin Cities down in Sibley trying to apprehend him as quickly as possible. We did locate in that area that led us a vehicle that we had interest in related to him yesterday that we were searching for, and it was located in Sibley County very early today. Also, I know it's been reported a hat that we believe he was wearing was found in proximity to that vehicle, which is what has led us to believing he was in that area. As we go forward on this, as we see, what we would ask the public to do is continue to remain vigilant, and anything that you see as suspicious, to please report this to us. You know, for him, it is important now at this point that he's wanted for these to come into custody. We want that to be done safely, both for him and for the public, so that we can move forward with this process, and also for the entire state of Minnesota. As they noted, our law enforcement continue to work very diligently and hard, and we know everybody wants answers. And what I'd ask for everybody today, I know it's been a long day without updates, but that's because it's been a very fluid day. There's been a number of different things that have been followed up on throughout the day and will continue to. As noted, we have taken in over 400 tips into our tip line already, and I would encourage people to continue to provide those so that our investigators can sift through those for clues and information that will lead us to him and to uncover exactly what's happening. Lastly, I would just remind everybody that we have families that continue to grieve, that are going through this process, and that it's very difficult for them. We've been in contact with families related to this, trying to provide some answers. And while everybody wants an easy answer, I would encourage everybody online and in our communities to not speculate on what occurred and what the motivation was for this. We often want easy answers for complex problems, and this is a complex situation that our investigators are going to need time to sift through the information and evidence, and those answers will come as we complete the full picture of our investigation, and we will continue to provide that information as we are able. With that, I'd be happy to answer some questions at this time, and I just remind everybody that it's a very active investigation.
Excuse me, can you introduce yourself and your media organization?
So the question was, did we find anything in that car? We did find items of evidence in that car that are relevant to this investigation. We can't go into the details of that, but there were items recovered for that car that are relevant, that will be part of our investigation, that provide additional answers, and that lead us to believe, additionally, beyond looking for it, that he was associated with that vehicle. So the question is, do we believe that he is trying to leave the country or headed towards Canada? There's a large law enforcement presence down in Sibley County, but we don't have him in custody. So we don't have evidence that he's intending a particular destination, but all options are open to the investigative team, and they're exploring that right now.
Dan Huffman, New York Times. Do you believe he's on foot?
The question is, do we believe he's on foot? We believe, in terms of we have not concluded exactly how he is getting around the area at this time. It could be in multiple ways that he has traveled, and that's open, and that's why you see in that area a very large perimeter, because they're looking at various modes of transportation from there.
He's watching the presser, too.
Do you believe the suspect is still alive? And can you tell us more about the traffic stop involved in why that happened?
Yeah, the question is, do we believe he's still alive? We're certainly operating as though he's still alive and believe he is at this time, and will continue on as is. And the question about his wife and traffic stop, I think everybody would know that, in any time an individual is identified as a suspect in investigation, we're going to talk to their family members and do that. So we met with his family, not just his wife, but other family members, to really understand what's going on, and that's part of that, and that will help us complete the investigation. And so that was part of what we're doing. Jay?
Jay Coles, Channel 5 News. Drew, on that point, are they in custody at all, or were they just questioned and released? And also, do you have any evidence that he might have stopped at another lawmaker's house before he got to Hoffman and Morgan?
So the questions were, are they in custody? The answer is no. And then as far as the others, we've mentioned we can't get into the specifics of the investigation. We believe that there certainly were other individuals that were identified as part of this information with him. And the terms of what exactly he had done, we are still continuing to build out that full picture as to what his whereabouts were. But we certainly are getting there, and there were other individuals that, might have been targeted. Yep. Paul knows.
One of my colleagues spoke with people in Sibley County who were told that the suspect may have been getting around on a bicycle or an e-bike.
Bicycle, e-bike.
Yeah. So the question was, is the individual getting around on a bike or bicycle? I think that, as noted previously, there might be multiple modes of transportation for the individual, and we can't get into the details and specifics. It might thwart our ability to locate the individual.
Yeah, Drew Paul, Fox 9, just about assistance. Do we believe at this point he's getting any assistance? Any evidence that was found? And then just to elaborate a little bit more on that traffic stop, because there have been leaks that the cash is in the wife's car, passports, weaponry. It sounds, intriguing. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what was found there and why, if so, they were able to be released?
Yeah, the question was, why were they about the traffic stop, and what were then? Can you repeat the first part of your question?
The first was just, is there any hard evidence that he's getting assistance?
Oh, yeah, thank you. So the question was, is there assistance in the items? And I can't discuss the details of what was inside of the vehicle at that time. It's part of our active criminal investigation, and we're working on that. Why were they allowed to be released? They were cooperative. We're working through that process. We certainly always analyze evidence, but they were very cooperative with us and provided us the information we needed and the information related to that. If the question about, do we believe he's receiving any assistance, options are on the table. We haven't seen specific individuals doing that, but we don't know that specifically now. He's certainly been in contact with individuals. Whether or not they're providing active assistance, I can't provide that. Go ahead.
Have you found any indication of prior threats, any online activity, any communication besides the manifesto? If you wouldn't mind sharing some details of the manifesto, that might help people find them.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. It was about details on what's been referred to as manifesto, and then are there online information or others or threats indicating. So far, we have not located any prior threats with this individual towards anybody on that. That will obviously be a deeper dive to really understand the motivation of this individual and whether or not that is on there and connections related to threats, whether they might be here or in different parts of the United States. In terms of what's been referred to manifesto, I want to clarify for everybody, and just for this is not a document, because I think it's important for the public to understand, that would be like a traditional manifesto that's a treatise on all kinds of ideology and writings. This is a notebook with a lot of, that's been reported, of lawmakers and others that are listed in here, and then much more other thoughts that are throughout this, as opposed to a very succinct document that's providing long, and it's mixed in with other documents. So that's where this is coming from. I don't want the public to have the impression that there's this long manifesto that's providing all of this information and details and then associated with names. It's much more about names and then others, and we will work through. And beyond that, I cannot provide details because it's part of the active criminal investigation.
All right, thank you guys.
I have a question. Is the shelter in place in Egan related to this investigation?
I am not familiar with that. I'd have to ask you to go to Egan. The question was a shelter in place in Egan, and I am not tracking a shelter in place in Egan right now. Was it earlier today, or is it right now? I would ask that I am not, we've been in here for a few minutes, but so I don't know if there's anything related to ours, but I'd have to ask you to talk to the Egan Police Department. Yeah, I can just on that. So the federal role on, yes, please. Yeah.
Is there still an ongoing threat to current lawmakers?
So what I would tell you in terms of the questions were ongoing threat to public lawmakers, is there one? Certainly the safety of our lawmakers and public services is utmost concern to all of us. Certainly is to the security apparatus at the Capitol that provide that for them, our Minnesota State Patrol as well. And so we continue to evaluate that. I will say that we have no indication that the individual that is wanted here did anything other than conduct these acts by himself. But that doesn't mean we aren't exploring more fully. If there's any other threats that might be there, we will continue to evaluate that and work together with them. In terms of the role of the federal government, they've been extremely great partners to all of us. The FBI and ATF, the United States Marshal Service, and others from the federal government are providing both investigative assistance on this case and then participating in the manhunt for the individual to locate him and take him into custody safely. That is not uncommon in a large case like this, and the United States Attorney's Office has been in contact with us, and they certainly will be exploring if there are federal charges that would be connected to this sort of violence that was conducted on our lawmakers.
Who is taking the lead in this? Is it still a Minnesota investigation?
Yeah, so this is a partnership right now. The Brooklyn Park Police Department is the lead on the murders that occurred in their city, and we are assisting them as we do as a BCA and communities all across Minnesota with the assistance of the Sheriff's Office as well, and then those federal agencies. When we do an investigation like this, it is not uncommon for us to work in partnership with our federal agencies to see if there is an investigation that may lead to federal charges, which is what we're doing. So it is very typical that you would pursue in a murder case the murder investigation as a state case, be charged, and then we'll examine if there are federal charges, and we'll have those ongoing conversations, which we are doing right now with the United States Attorney's Office for Minnesota. And in that case, the FBI is typically the lead agency in that case, unless there is something else that's more specialized, like gun charges, etc. All right, thank you. We should answer this. So, and this is, the question is, this has been expanded to South Dakota, and I think that came from, I don't know the specifics, but oftentimes when we're looking for an individual, we will send out information to law enforcement in surrounding states. Yesterday, he certainly had a lot of time to be able to cover a lot of distance once we knew that he had escaped from the crime scene. We believe that information was shared just like we would share in Minnesota if somebody was coming. This happens on a regular basis, that it was shared out for their law enforcement to be on the lookout. They call it a bolo, to be on the lookout for the individual, and we believe it was there. We were never tracking and believing the individual went to South Dakota as an investigative team. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day to
Why, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, I got your email now. The hell was that? Yeah, was that? What was that? That's an interesting email. It looked like a body to me. Glitter. Yeah, that's weird. Awesome. I need. They didn't really say anything. Goodbye.
Now, Vance Boelter and his wife have a home in Green Isle in Sibley County, west of the metro. Chopper 5 was over that home today as armored vehicles moved in. Reporter Ryan Raish asked neighbors about any potential warning signs.
He seemed like a nice guy, him and his wife, and he's got a couple kids. I never met the kids.
Was there ever any red flags?
No. Because he went over to Africa and helped on his own, he said on his own dime, and trying to get them to do better at farming.
This has never happened around here before, anything like this, so the world is getting crazier.
It's a crazy deal. I mean, what does a person say? You know, it's just knowing that something like this happened, and then knowing that, you know, the gentleman that perpetrated the crime might be out here in the cornfield with us. I mean, we don't, this isn't the city, you know, we're not supposed to have this stuff out here.
And we have also learned Boelter rented a room at a house in Minneapolis.
That is where reporter Kirsten Swanson spoke.
Okay. So I'm gonna premiere a video on the second page of iCkEdMeL clips. If you guys, I know there's a lot of new people. If you could subscribe to that page, I'd appreciate it. I'm gonna post a video, just a clip of the interview. For those that haven't seen it, most of the time on that channel, I post like new content. So, like for example, if there's little updates that come out with the story Vance, if there's just a little piece, I'm not gonna start a whole live show. I might just be posting stuff over there, new information. So check out the clips channel because I post sometimes new story, new information, updates. In this case, I'm just gonna post some clips. I'm gonna post the clip of the interview that he did that was really weird. And also I'm gonna do later I'm gonna post the sermon thing for those that missed it. But if you could just go there, I'm gonna transfer you guys just to support me. I'd appreciate it even if you watched it already. Thank you for the super chats. Appreciate it. Stephaboo. Oh, I got that already. Thank you, Stephaboo. Anna Base, thank you for the 20. Isotope, thank you for the 5. Is the sign language chick practice? Oh god. Nick, thank you for the 5 too. Appreciate it. Thank you again for work all weekend. You have the best comprehensive coverage on YouTube. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, man. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Hit the like button, get it to 4,000. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. I'm gonna relax. I still feel tired from this whole week of streaming, and I was up really late, and I was up early this morning. I was hanging out with my daughter. We did the stream now, and I'm gonna relax and chill. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna chill though. I'm gonna just relax the rest of the evening. Unless this guy's found, I'll be right back on. So make sure you have notifications turned on. All right. If he's found, I'm jumping right back on. If he's found tonight. All right. But I'll see you guys. Love you. Thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the subscribes. Thank you Rumble. Thank you YouTube. Thank you Twitch. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Facebook. Kick. Bye. Love you. Bloop 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 bloop.